EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports, wrapping up another week and got a great show planned ahead for you. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother?
Oh, Football Friday, a little tourney action last night. Phillies opening day, but still Eagles. It's Philadelphia.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Did you catch any of those other sports last night, or were you checked out of them, John?
No, I'm checked out, but I was rooting for Arkansas, so a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I dozed off too, so I missed the overtime. But I thought they had it in the bag with Calipari and Arkansas, but they didn't get the win. I tell you what, though. You want to rejuvenate Sixers fans, Johnny Mac. Get that Cooper Flag kid from Duke, man. That kid can play.
You know how I feel about the Sixers. They might screw up the reincarnation of LeBron James coming in. So, I'm not too excited about Cooper Flag. But, yeah, I mean, how are they going to get him? I don't know. If they get lucky, they get the lottery.
But, unless the NBA rigs it, because they're not going to let him. Are they going to let him go to the Wizards or the Pacers or what?
I don't know. I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I don't think they direct people. There's the old Patrick Ewing.
Well, LeBron, you can thank LeBron for that on his interview the other day. He talked about how they might have rigged the lottery for him. Who else did he mention there?
Patrick Ewing is
Patrick Ewing. That was the big one.
Patrick Ewing amuses me because the big thing is, well, they want the New York team. The Knicks haven't won since Dan Willis-Reed and Clyde Frazier. I mean, give me a break. The Giants and the Jets. Look at the Giants. You think the NFL doesn't want the Giants and Jets to be good? They've been awful forever, and they continue to be. It's just such bullshit. And by the way, they got Patrick Ewing. The Knicks got Patrick Ewing with the ding card and all this nonsense. They didn't win a damn thing.
Yep.
Yeah, they won a lot.
Still good business to have them there, but I hear what you're saying. Good stuff there. Johnny Mac got a great show planned. We have some draft talk. We'll bring on Rick Saratella. If you've been around JAKIB for a while, you know Rick Saratella. He's excellent in the NFL draft from the NFL Draft Bible, the creator of the NFL Draft Bible. So we'll get him up here in hour number one. Some Eagle news yesterday, Johnny Mac. They bring back Matt Pryor, offensive lineman from the 2018 offseason when they acquired him. Your thoughts on bringing him back, boy? They're really draft-proof in that offensive line. Now I'm looking at Matt Pryor. You got Kenyon Green. You have Tyler Steen. You got Trevor Keegan. Who am I leaving off? That's 4 names. I thought there was one more I was missing there.
Kendall Lamb and Matt Pryor,
the big
Kendall
ones
outside, inside. We'll see how it shakes out. But they got a lot of bodies. One thing. I don't know if you saw Kelsey on WIP, but or heard Kelsey on WIP, but boy, he was really honest about, that's the first time I've heard somebody in the building and he's still in the building. He's constantly in the building, constantly works out there. Obviously he's not part of the team, but he's a big part of the team. Kind of downplay Tyler Steen, which I was shocked by. And then he was really honest about how Kenyon Green played in Houston. I mean, he just said he was bad. And I was like, whoa, where's this coming from?
Kelsey's in media mode now, brother.
Yeah. And he's right in everything he's saying. But yeah, I was surprised by it. I was a little bit taken aback. So they got worse at right guard. I think everybody looks at Tyler Steen and says, well, I'm not, he didn't play well when he was in there. And it was a significant downgrade. And I think there's some issues there. And I think there's obviously with Kenyon Green, I mean, he just was incredibly bad in Houston. So the assumption that he's going to completely turn it around. And then you have Trevor Keegan. So you got a bunch of bodies, but you got to find the right body. And, the right body, probably the best right guard on the roster is probably Matt Pryor. Started 15 games in Chicago, played pretty well. Part of that 2018 draft class. They lose Josh Sweat and Avonte Maddox, so they had to get Matt Pryor back. Great class. Yeah, had a career high in starts, career high in snaps, had really good grades from PFF, had a good season, not a great team. He can play, and he can play 4 different positions. So he's a valuable backup. But man, if they let him in the competition, he might go win that competition.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, John, you got Pryor, you got Kenyon Green, you have Tyler Steen, and you have Trevor Keegan for the guard. I don't think Kendall Lamb would be in that position, but can Jeff get one of them to work? I have a good feeling Jeff Stoutland's going to get one of them to work.
Well, I think Matt Pryor's already proven himself to a certain level outside of Philadelphia. Started a bunch of games, as I mentioned, with Chicago last year, but also Indianapolis when he left here. He started a bunch of games. So, he's an NFL player. And when I always talk about that draft, and people, he's closing in on 100 career games in the NFL, which is pretty impressive as a 6th-round pick. And then you look at him, and he's 6'7" and whatever he is now, 330 something, and he looks like a tackle, and he is a tackle. He's a natural tackle. Came in as a sort of a natural right tackle out of TCU, but the Eagles proved last year they're willing to put big guys inside, tall guys, and they had such success with the power and the physicality of Mekhi Becton. And even if you want to go back to Brandon Brooks and his height, just this massive, powerful guy inside, it seems they like that structure when it comes to the running game. I don't think that's the plan, but I don't have nearly as much confidence in Tyler Steen as most people seem to have with the Eagles. And I thought it was interesting that Kelsey kind of aired those thoughts publicly, because I think that comes from the NovaCare Center as well.
Right. Yeah. Who do you think's the leader in the clubhouse right now?
Well, I think Steen will get the first opportunity, much like last year.
Yeah.
I think they want him to win the job. And then it becomes that's the problem for Pryor. I don't even think he's, they're going to try Steen, then they're going to try Green. They might even try Keegan before they get to Pryor. So, I think they look at Pryor as a backup, as a versatile. He can play 4 out of the 5 positions, and he has at the NFL level. So that's a very valuable, versatile game day backup. I think that's why he's here. But I think he also might be their best right guard they have on the roster. No, I don't think that's how they're approaching it.
Right.
But I think that's the reality.
We'll see what ends up happening there. Tyler Steen maybe not going to win the job. We'll see what ends up happening. A lot of movement on that offensive line. I'll tell you what, they brought in a lot of people. So I'm wondering if that, I know we don't think it's going to remove somebody from the draft board, but I don't know. I feel like they're not going to go offensive linemen. I know defensive linemen's more.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you brought that up, and we're going to talk to Rick, because they are looking at a shitload of offensive line.
I know, but are they middle round guys? You know what I mean? Like maybe
Nope. They were looking. They're brought in. As we keep checking them off, I think I'm at 11 pre-draft visits of 33. So 30. So you're over 33%. At Ohio, the Ohio State had its pro day. Obviously, the whole NFL was there basically for that team, and they set up a meeting with Donovan Jackson, according to Tony Pauline. So I want to give him credit. He ain't day 3. He's
right.
He's a bridge pick. I mean, if you can convince yourself to take him at 32, there's value there. Charles Grant, the William and Mary kid, he might be the best athlete in the draft. There's no way he's lasting to day 3. It's not going to be 32. Connerly's legit option at 32. And all the other guys, Marcus Embo from Purdue, Anthony Belton from NC State, Jalen Travis from Iowa State, they're not first round options, but they're day 2 options.
Right.
And especially when you consider um this offensive line draft isn't as good as last year's at the top. So the guys in that second, third round are probably going to get pushed up a little bit for offensive line desperate teams.
Right.
And there's a lot of them in the NFL, offensive line desperate teams. Not here, but they're looking at a lot of freaking offensive linemen. A lot of
Probably
offensive linemen.
70% of the league is offensive linemen starving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know
It
why
may be higher. It might be higher.
I don't know why teams don't figure it out, but they don't figure it out. That's what you got to build first. But the Eagles are hyper focused on doing something on that offensive line, and to me, it's got to be. They're cognizant of the whole succession plan for Lane, but I mean that's not immediate need. But like if they could get Connerly and he start him out at right guard and then move him, kick him outside, that type of thing, which we talked about a lot last year. They're very cognizant of that. And then, the big body guys like Jackson is incredibly strong. I think he did, I don't know, 30 something over 30 reps at 225. And Belton too. Just big, powerful, maybe tackle in college that moves inside. Yeah, nothing they've done has precluded them from not drafting an offensive lineman they like.
Yeah, we'll see what they end up doing there, Johnny Mac. Good stuff, John. Before we get Rick Saratella on, we'll talk more draft. We got plenty of draft talk here in hour number 1 today on the show. John, I want to ask you, I saw your tweet this morning. Diana Rossini puts out, and I don't really want to get into a whole tush push thing again, but we got to keep people updated. Diana Rossini put out a tweet this morning, and I will read it verbatim for the people so that they know what I'm talking about here. Rossini put out a tweet. Nothing is set in stone yet, but the sense I get from around the league is that momentum around banning the tush push is growing. That's from Diana Rossini. Who knows what will happen with that, but an interesting development on the tush push, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I'm not concerned if they do ban it, but I've said that pretty consistently. If I were an Eagles fan, I wouldn't lose a inkling of sleep because they're going to be just as good on traditional quarterback sneaks, and they were before, and they will be. And I've said that pretty consistently. Jeff Carr tweeted that out. They were better before, percentage-wise, than they were with the tush push because they're good at it, and they have quarterbacks. They had a quarterback, Carson Wentz, who was very good at it. Now they have a quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who's even better at it, and they have a great offensive line. So that's number 1. Number 2, Diana's very plugged in. She's very smart, and she worded it. I think people should pay attention to how she worded it. The sense I get from around the league is that momentum around banning the tush push is growing. Well, I had no momentum last time.
Right.
They had like 3 votes, and you have to have 24. Now, they probably have 10, 12, 30, whatever, but they're not getting to 24, especially the way it's worded. So my guess is they're going to table it next week for a meeting later in the summer, maybe rework the wording, maybe eventually get it to the competition committee. Because now it's much more likely to pass if it's put forward by the competition committee. And eventually I do think they're going to they're not going to ban the tush push, but I've said eventually they're going to go back to banning pushing from the game, offensive, just everywhere. Not only quarterback sneak, but those big scrums, maybe you're guys not going down, and here comes all the offensive money down the field, pushing guys inside the 10-yard line, pushing guys. I think eventually they're going to ban that. It used to be banned. I don't know why they unbanned it, making up words, but Eventually, I think that's happening. I can't tell you when. I think it's going to happen relatively soon. But yeah, I don't think it's going to affect the Eagles, and I don't think banning the tush push is going to happen.
We'll see what ends up happening with all of those things. When is that meeting next week, John?
Well, bunch of stuff, but they're down there on Sunday. It goes basically to Wednesday or Thursday. So coaches meetings, all that stuff. And you'll see all that come out as they vote on. There's a lot of rule change proposals, not just that. But I would be stunned if it passes in its current form. The Packers putting forth, because they made it very focused on the tush push. I think eventually it's got to be worded better. It's got to include other things. And then I think it might get to 24.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, we're going to talk to Rick Saratella. Before we get into the NFL draft, any free agents, John, left out there that could be an option? I mean, I feel like they're free agented out, if that's even a word. But I mean, they got a lot of lottery picks. I don't know if they need any more. But do you think they'll add some more people here in free agency?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, after, I think it's most likely after the draft again, when it. And you know, now you see the guys like Lamb and Pryor. Look, if they can get something done, you know, 1-year guys for very low money, veteran minimum money. That's what you're talking about now. After the draft, Tuesday after the draft, you no longer count against the compensatory pick formula. And that's where you can sign somebody to more money and not have it affect your compensatory haul with the Eagles. That's important. It's not important for every team because every team's not in that game each year, but the Eagles were maxed out at 4 projected. Now they're back down to 3. The last thing they want to do is sign Justin Simmons and lose another pick and lose the Mekhi Becton pick. So, you know, there's still a potential of those guys, but it's going to be later in the process. You know, everybody keeps talking about Aaron Rodgers because he's Aaron Rodgers. That ain't over yet. Wait till after the draft, because I think he wants to play in Minnesota.
Why is he such a drama queen, though? Like, bro, why do you have to make everything and I love Aaron Rodgers. I've been a supporter. I didn't care about. I mean, oh my God, does everything have to be an ordeal with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, well. He's a pain in the ass, number
royal.
one. And that's part of the problem when you get in the Aaron Rodgers business about, you know, McAfee show and all that kind of stuff. So you have to deal with that as an organization. We talked about it locally at a lesser level with Slay and his podcast all the time. It's the same shit, but it's like that kind of stuff on steroids.
Yeah.
Because of his, you know, he's just a bigger star and a bigger platform and all that stuff. But part of it's not him. I mean, they have a 3rd round compensatory pick for Sam Darnold. They don't want to give that up. So part of it is them. They're just waiting. So I'm not saying there's a wink deal, but there is some weird shit because he was out there talking this week. Like it was one of the weirdest press conferences I've ever seen with Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah.
Yeah, I want to go and watch it.
Well, people who are interested, obviously Eagles fans, you should watch it. It's weird. Like he's saying, well, he's got a great relationship with O'Connell and blah, blah, blah. And they wouldn't say he's out and they wouldn't say McCarthy's number 1. Obviously, Kwesi wants McCarthy. That's his whole philosophy.
Yeah, right.
But other people get involved. Then I go to Cleveland. I see one of the Cleveland writers this morning say, you know, they're going to meet with Abdul Carter and Jimmy Haslam's going to be at the meeting and the ownership's very involved in this draft. And I'm like, oh my God, these are what these other teams deal with.
Right.
Like if it were up to Kwesi, it'd be over. He would have said, no, we're going to go with JJ McCarthy, but he can't. I guarantee you that's what's going on. Because they're saying The owners are saying, well, we think we have a Super Bowl roster, and you're not going to. And to be blatantly honest, there's two things here. I agree with them. Look, we went through that, and I put the Eagles number 1 and Washington number 2, or whatever I did, which makes no sense because they had Washington number 1 either what in the NFC East. I get that part of it. But either way, I said, no, I can't put Minnesota up near that level because of the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. He's never played before. He barely played at Michigan. Can't do it. I can't say they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. If they sign him, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Now, I don't know what he has left.
Right.
But
you know more about him than you do about JJ. Yeah. That's for sure.
So that's their thought process. And Kwesi's like, well, I want to build this roster. And he has built the roster. He deserves credit for that. And then part of it is because he's being very cost effective at the quarterback position. So you have this give and forth, but this is and I bring all this up because this is the huge advantage that the Eagles have over most of the rest of the league. For the most part, Jeffrey Lurie lets the people he hired do what they're supposed to do. For the most part, not 100%, but for the most part.
Feels like even if he does get involved, he does it in a more quiet way.
Well, he does it in a smarter way. You know, he asks questions, as he likes to say. He's a question asker. I'm sure he's well aware that he can direct things the way he wants them to go by asking the right questions, because people aren't stupid. And if they get asked questions, I always go back to Doug Peterson after they upset Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and the Packers and all that. And Jeffrey's asking him at the Tuesday meeting, hey, why didn't we win a certain way? You know, that kind of resonated with Doug. It's like, what we just upset, you know, one of the best teams in football on the road. So that can turn people in different directions. But compared to other owners, Jimmy Haslam, the Wilfs, Jerry Jones, most notably, such a huge advantage for the Eagles.
No doubt about it. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, I just saw Rick in the chat. I don't know if his old email works because I emailed him earlier in the week. I told you he didn't respond. And he said he didn't get the link, but I'm working on it now. So we'll get Rick Saratella coming up here on Birds 365. Looking forward to talking to Rick here on the show. We'll get to our first commercial break. Tush Push news. Matt Pryor returns. Another 2018. John mentioned they got rid of some 2018 picks. Now they're going to bring some 2018 pick back, and Matt Pryor, plenty of moves still to be made, and we're 27 days away from the NFL draft, I want to say. Let me get that number for exact number. Yep, 27 days away from the NFL draft. I know our boy, Rick Saratella, is fired up for it. Let's bring on Rick Saratella right now here on Birds 365, joining the show. Rick, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
What's up, fellas? I'm sorry, you know, my Draft Bible email gets so full this time of year.
Yeah.
I figured that.
Appreciate it. How we doing?
Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
NFL Draft Bible at Rick Saratella on the X platform. Make sure you follow him. Rick does a phenomenal job. One of my favorite draft people. Thrilled to have him back on the show. Love seeing it. All access football. I love the background. Look at it all. I love it all.
We're trying over here, Mac.
It looks good, Rick.
Looks good. Doing a tremendous job. So, you know, I want to talk about the draft with you from a league standpoint, but we'll start with the Eagles. We're an Eagles show. Boy, I got to tell you, you know, top 30 visits aren't the end all be all, but the Eagles' history is pretty significant that when they bring somebody in, there's a good chance they have some interest in them. And they keep bringing in offensive linemen, Rick. I'm like, it's, you know, already the 5 guys I know of, or 6, I believe it's 6, Josh Connerly. And I want to ask you about these guys specifically. The Oregon tackle. Then you have Marcus Embo from Purdue, Anthony Belton from North Carolina State, Jalen Travis. Those are more day 2 guys, potentials to me. And this is where I want to get your sort of levels. The William and Mary tackle interests me, Charles Grant, because he's so athletic, but you worry about level of competition, all that kind of stuff. And at Ohio State, the whole league was at Ohio State, obviously, rightfully so. But and all of a sudden it's Donovan Jackson. He's the most interesting to me. Where do you think his ceiling is? Could he make it to 30? Could somebody see that as value as 32, or do you got to trade back a little bit?
Who was that? Which guy?
Donovan Jackson from Ohio
Donovan
State.
Jackson. He's right on the fringe, I would say, because his evaluation, like you go back this film, obviously he had to slide over to left tackle when Josh Simmons went down, but his best position is going to be at guard. I think he gave himself a shot to get a chance at left tackle, but I think the arm length is going to be an issue. I think the lateral movement and the side kick is going to be more suited to play guard at the next level. But like typical Eagles kind of guy, you bring him in, you got a guard in the making. He can cross train, step outside to tackle if need be. So he has that versatility, and that, adds some value there at the end of the first round. You're looking for guys with versatility. I like Donovan Jackson. Obviously, the other kid, Josh Simmons, you're hearing now whispers about character concerns that came out recently. 140 NFL personnel at the Ohio State Pro Day. So they're sure to meet with him. You mentioned Charles Grant, man. This guy's nasty. I love the William and Mary product. He is just, he brings the nasty in the trenches, and he's 6'4" and 7/8", so he's just under 6'5". He's got a 35-inch arm length. So, you talk about guys with length. That's the one thing this offensive tackle class is lacking: arm length. Specifically, a guy that you mentioned, Armand Membu and Will Campbell. These guys get lumped together.
Campbell's got short arms. Yeah.
Well, and Campbell's got the alligator arms with the 77-inch wingspan, which is really small.
Right.
But Membo, I think both of these guys are great NFL guards. Now they'll probably get a shot at tackle. Membo, to me, is more finesse. I like my guys to have an edge. I like my guys to play through the whistle. Membo's not that. He's a 330-pound tackle that runs a 4.9 140. He's a finesse tackle. Will Campbell is a little bit nastier. And Will Campbell, I think Campbell has a chance to survive at tackle more than Membo, even though he has shorter arms. Because, again, the kick slide, when you're out on the island, so to speak, as an offensive tackle, and you're going one-on-one with those edge rushers, Will Campbell wins with his feet all day long. I think he's got the best footwork of any offensive tackle in this draft class. But to me, Campbell, Membo, their guards. Simmons got character concerns. Anthony Belton, who we didn't talk about.
He's a guy the Eagles are bringing in too. Yeah, he's
I'll tell you what,
some of Kai Becton. I'm like,
best looking left tackle at the Senior Bowl was Anthony Belton. I love this kid. I mean, go pop on the film with Belton. I think he might sneak in to the end of the first round.
Ooh. Yeah. I didn't think about that. Quick tangent though, because you brought up some of the measurements. I've been, Penn State's famous now. I don't know if they have 39 yards out in Happy Valley, but everybody, they have these great timings. Now Texas. What do you guys, when you're there, like Donovan Jackson, we were just talking about, he's got 33 and something inch arms. When he gets tested at the combine, all of a sudden the pro day is over 34. How do you guys differentiate some of these?
Yeah, and I see people online that are confused by it, right? They're like, hey, how did his hands grow?
Yeah, exactly.
From Mobile to Indianapolis. And I don't think that's the case. What it is, it's called the human element error. There's room for error when there's a human element involved. And so there is no exact science for these measurements. Yeah, there's protocol that all of us scouts follow. But, for me to say that everybody goes by the handbook of how to measure players, it just doesn't happen. I'll be at a pro day and you can have scouts, most of them have you put your hand down and measure it flat on the ground. There's other scouts I see, they just do it up in the air. So, and you can obviously see, I can cheat. I can, get an extra inch as opposed to being flat on the ground. Same thing with especially the wing, you measure the arm length, they're finding where your arm bends and they're measuring you. And when they do the wingspan, the difference can be when an offensive lineman moves his arms this a little bit more and gets away with cheating the drill. Now, Indianapolis, that's why teams appreciate the combine, because it's 350 guys being measured by the same person. Now you go to these schools and these pro days, it's like, hey, who's here today? Who's taking the measurements? Who's doing this drill? Who's doing vertical? And you get different scouts assigned to it. And that's how these measurement mishaps happen.
Miss a line, yeah. Makes
What
sense.
does that do for a team, Rick? Because that guy, that guy we were talking about, Will Campbell, he's got great tape. He seems like a great player. And then you hear measurements about the arms. And, he made a comment about the press conference at his presser. I saw John tweeted out of like, oh, all of a sudden I'm not a good player. If you're an NFL team, though, how do you gauge these things? How much merit do you put on one thing versus another?
Well, Will, I hate to tell you, that's what happens during the draft process. And you go back and really you look at the history of time, and I see like 77-inch wingspan. Okay, there's not another guy on my big board here that's like under 81 inches. So now, you go back and you say, how many guys in the NFL are playing with a 77-inch wingspan?
Right.
How many guys are playing, right? And how about Joe Thuney in the Super Bowl? He got exposed at tackle, right? Because he's a great guard, but then you got to, fill him in at tackle, and that length he gets taken advantage of because it's just, you've got grown men with 35, 36-inch arms coming at you. And when you got a 4-inch disadvantage and you're asked to play on the offensive tackle outside, it's just a natural mismatch, right?
Yeah. It makes sense. But when you hit that, I always say from my perspective, from doing it for a long time, not at your level when it comes to scouting, but just from watching guys develop over the years, you got to hit a certain level to play in the NFL, whether it's athleticism, whether it's those physical traits. And once you hit that level and you hit the baseline, then it's like, all right, can you play? And that's where the film comes in. And guys like, and I get why Will Campbell's upset, because he said nobody talked about him being a bad player till they realized he had short arms, and now all of a sudden they're questioning him as a player. So I can see when it gets frustrating. But one of the things I love talking to you about and talking to guys in the scouting field about is how many legit players in each particular draft. Where's the fall off? Where's the drop off from true blue chip to down to that second tier for you this year? Because I'm not in love with this group. I gotta be honest with you.
To me, I have really 2 or 3 blue chip guys. So Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are blue chip guys. I'm a big Tyler Warren fan. I actually would throw him into the blue chip.
What about Genty? Because running back and people devalue. But
I like people who compete, and it bothers me. Like, you don't run a 40-yard dash. You do all these drills and dancing and pity patter, and it looks great at your pro day. But like, dude, you averaged 7.3 yards per carry against the Mountain West. You didn't play one real defense until you faced Penn State, and all of a sudden your yards per carry dipped to 3.3. I mean, he was like a truck in mud against that Penn State defense, and that's what he's going to see on Sundays. So, like, the fact that he comes out and doesn't run the 40-yard dash, so, like, what, you're worried about people critiquing your time speed? You're supposed to be this elite running back. I thought he could have sealed the deal as, like, a top 10 pick. Now I'm wondering, like, yo, what's that all about? Like, you did positional drills. Why didn't you run the 40 at the combine? Why didn't you run the 40 at the pro day? Now I start wondering, like, why didn't you run well against Penn State? Why were you only 10 carries for 44 yards against Washington? It looks great against the Mountain West, but I wonder, like, Amarian Hampton at North Carolina, like, really good looking running back, did it against the P4 week in and week out. I like that young man. I like Cam Scattaboo. Like, I don't think there's a huge drop off from Genty to the next running back. And it bothers me. Like, it bothers me. I'm a little bit older school when it comes to that mentality. Like, Abdul Carter's not working out at the Penn State pro day, and Drew Rosenhaus is saying it's because of his shoulder. Well, hold up. Wait, I thought he had the foot. Now he's got a shoulder. And now you got the same thing as Tyree Wilson going on, where he doesn't need a screw right now immediately, but eventually he might. And that's a 2-month recovery minimum, right? Yeah. So, like, going back, though, like the tier 1 high impact players, I think after the top 10, those guys from 11 to 50 are really, really close. I think Beauty.
Are there any quarterbacks in that top 10 of yours?
Yeah, I'm a big Shedeur Sanders believer. I think this guy is just an assassin. I've called him. He's so smart, cerebral. I think he gets knocked for his athleticism, but if you watch him bide time in the pocket and throw on the run, and which he's going to see a lot of in the NFL because you only have 2.5, 3 seconds to throw the ball.
Yeah.
If not, you got to get creative. And Shedeur Sanders thrives in that element. Cam Ward, I think, is more of a wow thrower, like EJ Manuel. You get these wow throws that show up on film, but just from a consistent body of work, I'm a Shedeur Sanders guy. I have a first-round grade on Cam Ward, just not as high. But, yeah, Shedeur Sanders is definitely in the mix there for me. Like, wide receiver, I don't think there's a true wide receiver one in this class. Emeka Egbuka is my favorite wide receiver for whatever that's worth. I think he's got the highest floor.
Yeah, it's a down year for receivers.
Well,
so I
assume
assume
Travis Hunter, though.
Yeah,
He's
Travis.
in that blue chip. Like, is he playing both, Rick? I don't see that, but what do you say?
Well, I like him as a cornerback first. I think there's more value on a cornerback than there is a wide receiver. And so his instincts are elite. His ball skills are elite. I did the Patriots podcast. They're excited for Travis Hunter, not as a cornerback, though. They're excited to have him as a wide receiver.
Yeah. Jeremiah is grading him as a wide receiver. That's my concern with Travis Hunter. Like, I don't think he can do both. Obviously, he's top. If he's not one, he's two in this draft from a just talent standpoint. But I think you got to pick a position. And that's the difficult part. Because I'm with you. Corner and Xander's pointed this out. Wide receiver is a rotational position. Even you roll guys through. The top guys play a ton here. Devontae Smith, AJ play a ton, but it's a position where you're going to use 3-4 guys. Even on a team like Philadelphia that's run heavy, you still use 3-4 guys, sometimes 5 at a time. Corner, you got your 2 outside corners, your slot guy. If everything goes well, they're going to play. They're going to play 100% of the snaps. So just from a playing standpoint, I think corner probably adds more value. But if some team is out there and says, I want to play him at both, I want to play him at corner and receiver, do you think that's possible in the modern game?
Well, I'm not going to put it by this kid. He just averaged 120 reps the last 2 seasons, right? So I'm not going to be the guy to tell him he can't do it. I know he's been adamant about it. I think the biggest concern really wouldn't be from a physical standpoint, but more so as a mental capability. Like, the NFL playbook is 4 times thicker than a college playbook.
Right.
So now you've got to do that at both positions, right? Like, I don't think as a rookie, I don't know if that's feasible. Now, the other thing you could do on a physical side, you got to factor in your rookie year is the most physically tolling because there is no offseason. Like, you go from the end of the college season into combine training, into the combine or pro day, into offseason, into rookie mini camps, into that whole offseason of, like, there is no downtime, right? Where the players, the Eagles had the Super Bowl, they've been off since February. These college guys, there's no stop, right through into the next season. So that would be a concern for me. He had that lacerated kidney 2 years ago because he took a violent hit. And so when you increase your snaps and your reps, that's bound to happen. It's part of the game.
Right.
I'd be a little bit hesitant to do it off of the gate, but I would create a sub package where maybe we've got 20 or 25 plays designed when Hunter is in the game. Right. And that's how I would go about it and let him expand and develop his role because Deion Sanders couldn't even do it. Right. Hines Ward, he couldn't do it. So I'm not going to say Travis Hunter can't do it, but I think you got to be a little bit cautious. You got to have a real good game plan going into this thing.
Well, I think you could do it. There's the kid from the Patriots. Who was it? Troy Brown.
Troy Brown did it. Yep. But he was kind of a situational.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. You could do it situationally.
Yeah.
You're around Edmonton, the CFL for a while. Like, how would it even work logistically? I don't know if how did it work in Colorado? Like, Kelsey was talking about the impact of Brandon Graham on the Eagles organization the other day. And he mentioned he was talking about how things are set up. You spend 90% of your time with your position group.
Meeting rooms, yeah.
Yeah. Like, how is he meeting with both in an NFL environment? I I don't know how it would work logistically at the NFL level.
Well, see, at Colorado, like he got by on natural athleticism. Like he's not the sharpest route runner, right? But like you get him the ball in space and he's so elusive and dynamic, he's going to make players miss. And I think there was like 4 games where he had an interception and scored a touchdown on offense. Like that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Right? On both sides of the ball. And that's the kind of capability he brings, and that's exciting.
Yeah. A great player. I just, I wonder where I would make that decision. And
I think about that second contract, right? It doesn't, if he's got to pick one, he's going to pick receiver because they're going to make $35 million. Now, corners are getting paid too pretty good.
Yeah, they're both getting paid.
Yeah, they're both getting paid pretty good. So I guess it's not big of a Rick, you said after 10 gets a little muddy. That means by 32, it's real muddy. If you're the Birds in this situation, what do you like? Where are you looking for the value? You moving up? They got a lot of picks. Are you moving back, trying to gain another mid-round pick? What do you like for the Birds to do sitting at 32?
I would like them to take the same approach last time they were picking 32 and trade out of that spot, right? They got Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, traded back, worked out for both sides.
Right.
To me, like, I think the quarterback mystery, I think Pittsburgh's at 21.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't see how they can't draft a quarterback.
Who's that quarterback for you at that point? Jackson Dart?
To me, I just mentioned Lamar Jackson. I see the same narrative painted on Jalen Milroe that was out there on Jackson. Yeah. Elite speed, scrambling ability, throws a beautiful. This guy, Jalen Milroe, has some beautiful deep bombs on tape, man. This guy throws a beautiful deep ball. But it's the short to intermediate game where he struggles and he's inconsistent. And that was the same thing with Lamar Jackson coming out. So to me, I like Jalen Milroe. Now, if you ask me who I think is going to be the third quarterback, it's smoke signal season, but it sounds like Jackson Dart is the guy. I don't get it. I don't see it. I was higher on anybody coming into the season on Jackson Dart. I just thought he failed to deliver in the big spot. Like, outside of Ohio State, like Ole Miss might have more players drafted than anybody. And for him not to be able to like even take that team to the college football playoffs, it reminded me of Will Levis, where Levis, I watched him in college, big moments, big spots, times to make statements against scouts. He just flopped. And I'm not saying Jackson Dart flopped. I'm not saying he can't be successful. I just don't see a franchise quarterback where I say, oh, I want to build my team around that guy. I don't see that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see it either. I'm not in love with this quarterback class. The
one guy I would say Howie would target if he starts sliding down is James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee.
Yeah. I was going to bring up the edge rushers. Yeah,
he's a top 10, top 12 pick. If you were to mold the prototypical edge rusher out of a machine, it would spit out a body frame that looks just like James Pierce. And so, I checked in with that character concerns, and I think that's more of a media fabrication than it is. I think it's more of a.
What about his poor pro day? That's what I'm concerned about, because he's the film guy, and I want to compare him to Shamar Stewart, who's the physical freak. So Stewart is this physical freak and doesn't produce on the field. Yeah, all Pierce does is produce, and he showed up and he had a bad combine. How do you sort of weigh those two guys?
Well, I have Stewart as a defensive tackle to your point.
Really?
But
he's a big guy. Yeah,
he's a big guy. I think he could take advantage of his quickness on the inside more because I didn't see it at A&M. Like he 4.5 sacks in his entire college career.
Yeah. That's not very productive.
So I don't see like this amazing pass rush repertoire. I waited for it all week down in Mobile. I saw everybody tweeting what a super supreme talent he was. I didn't see that. Pierce, I think Pierce ran like a 4.47. That guy has gotten crazy athleticism and bend. And you could state a case. Now he had 19.5 career sacks, but he also had like 132 quarterback pressures. He had an insane amount of quarterback pressure. So like Pierce needs to learn how to finish because he's been back there. His tackle, his pressure is way up there. His sack to pressure ratio, I'd like to see that improve because he left a lot of sacks on the field. So like James Pierce is still, I think, has room for improvement. And he's
I got to tell you, Rick, I can't see any way he falls to 32, even with some of the concerns.
Well, no, I think like if he starts falling into the 20s, I could see Howie maybe target and move up for that, right?
Yeah.
Like if he gets into that 20 range, why not go and get that guy? I mean,
what do you think, Rick, he'd have to package? Like if, let's say Howie wants to go to 24, how hard would it be to get up from 32 with this draft kind of, if it falls off after 10 and there's a lot of gray area, how much you got to send to move up like that?
I think you're looking at like maybe a compensatory pick, a throw in a 3rd round pick from this year or a 2nd round pick next year, with the 32nd to move up.
Right.
What do you think about the BC kid? Because they have him coming in for a top 30 visit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to butcher his name. Maybe
Taylor Elgersma. Yeah. Had him on my show.
No, Donovan. I'm talking about Donovan. Donovan as
he's
the Boston College. I'm thinking British Columbia as a recruit.
Oh God, I got you. You're in your Edmonton, man.
Yeah.
No, as a Ruku, the Eagles are bringing him in for a top 30 visit. I think there's a chance he might be there at 32.
Yeah,
is that realistic?
Yeah, I think he's one of those. He's a 1st round guy for me. I think he could be on the board because it's so deep. This pass rusher class is deep and talented. I mean, I love this. Like, look at these guys who are going to come off the board before the Boston College kid. You're talking about Abdul Carter, Michael Williams out of Georgia, James Pierce, maybe Mike Green from Marshall. There's some off-field misconduct, but then it's the Boston College kid, and I got the UCLA kid, Oladejo. I think is going to be one of the biggest steals of the draft. I saw this kid. He was a middle linebacker. UCLA start moonlighting him at edge rusher this year. Had 9.5 sacks. My eyes kept gravitating towards his presence. He was a dominating, imposing presence down there in Mobile. Like, he looked like a man amongst boys. And he's so raw. He's not developed at all. And he's just manhandling dudes. I think the kid from UCLA, Wafemi Oladejo, he might be a 1st round guy. And I'll tell you another guy that doesn't get talked about a lot that could be there for the Eagles and can play all 5 offensive line positions. He's a top 20, 25 talent for me. Gray Zabel from North Dakota State.
Oh, yeah.
This guy. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about one of the cleanest prospects in the draft. He's a technician, great mirror ability, can even line up in center if you need him to. Like, he can step in and compete at any offensive line position, that Gray Zabel. I love that young guy.
That sounds like a Jeff Stoutland guy right there.
Oh, yeah.
I love the clean prospect. You know who's the cleanest prospect I've ever seen, Rick? And part of it was the same reason, because he could play anywhere. Zach Martin. And look at what Zach Martin did.
Yep.
He's going to go to the Hall of Fame. But people forget I think he played left tackle at Notre Dame. He could have played left tackle. He could have played all 4 positions. And his brother was a center, I think. But yeah, when you get those guys who they're going to be good, no matter where you put them, those are valuable pieces. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But I think Zabel's a guy, somebody's going to take a shot on him before 32. The Eagles are in that position where it's, as you mentioned, the Lamar Jackson year. I'd probably like to move back, but it takes 2 to tango. You might have to target one player, move up a little bit, but I think that would be very targeted type situation. And the player the Eagles got, Rick, the reason I say that, they traded back. Baltimore went up to get Lamar Jackson. Then the Eagles traded back up to get Dallas Goedert, a tight end. And they need a tight end now. They might be moving on from the Dallas Goedert business. And this is a good tight end draft.
Yes.
They're not going to get Tyler Warren. They're not going to get the kid from Michigan. But so 2nd round tight ends for you. Who's in that group?
Whew, there is some real value here. Let me tell you, Mason Taylor out of LSU. And wide receivers included. I don't know if I ever watched anybody run the gauntlet drill in the combine better or more efficiently than Mason Taylor. This guy just ran full speed. He didn't deviate from the line, natural hands catcher. And he was so underutilized at LSU. They just he was an underneath like security blanket for the quarterback there. This guy, you're talking about untapped potential at 6'5", 251 pounds. He can run like the wind. And then also Miami had their pro day this week. Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah.
This is a name to keep an eye on because he's again speedy, quick, struggled with injuries early on in his career. Kind of a one-year wonder. Came out of nowhere. I mean, the guy had like 6 career catches coming into this year. He just exploded with Cam Ward this year. But you talk about high-end speed, day 2 pick, Elijah Arroyo, and then Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame. Maybe not as much upside, maybe a little bit more of a plateaued prospect, but I know I'm getting a high-quality player who can block, who can catch. He's not going to hurt you in the pass game. He's going to be a valuable inline blocker. Mitchell Evans would be a great fit for the Eagles. Luke Lachey in day 3 out of Iowa. He had an injury now 2 years ago, but before that, he was considered a first-round pick. He's got all the size, skills, and traits that you look for out of Iowa. And one last guy I'm going to give you, I'll give you 2. Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. I mean, I'm really impressed with this kid's ability. Again, a dual, multi-dimensional tight end. And then Harold Fannin, who I thought was the most disappointing guy in Indianapolis. Yeah. I was really expecting big things from Harold Fannin, but he ran like a 4.73 40 at 6'3", 240 pounds, kind of that H-back mold. But what do you have? 113 catches this year, like insane.
And the Eagles hired his head coach. Scott Lepler's the quarterback.
Interesting.
Coach. Yeah. Well, so there you have it. I do have concerns about his size. The Eagles need more of I think, an inline sort of old school, which those guys are rare, but they want to sort of replicate what they've had with Dallas Goedert, which is not going to be easy. And Fannin is so slight. To me, he looks like a king-size receiver more than an actual tight end.
He's more in that Trey Burks mode, I think so.
Rick, here's the $1 million question, though, on tight ends. The Philadelphia Eagles just ran for 2,500 yards on their way to a Super Bowl. Can any of these tight ends block anybody? And if they weren't asked to do it in college, do you project any of them to be able to maybe take on that skill set at the next level?
Yeah. Well, Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech, I mean, he's just an over-glorified fullback. He's almost an extra offensive tackle, 6'4", 253 pounds. To me, the Georgia Tech kid is the best blocker in the draft. Gunnar Helm out of Texas.
I like Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, he's not a bad blocker. Now, he had a nasty, nasty ankle bruise on his first 40-yard dash attempt. So he has a poor, like 4.85 40, but I think scouts are going to give him a pass on that because he actually completed the entire workout. If you saw the picture of his ankle, kudos.
I did.
I mean, he's a tough mo. And then you talk about like Zander, can you develop that? Yes. I think half of the battle is the willingness and the effort and the want to. Like Tyler Warren has that, like similar to Gronk, where Gronk was a very willing blocker. His technique wasn't always there, but you saw by the end of his career, Gronk was a phenomenal blocker.
Great blocker. And then John brought up a good point the other day.
Nobody knew Dallas could block. The Eagles didn't know Dallas could block.
But he got here and he's good at it, So I was looking for maybe a guy that's physical or, like you said, has that want to go and do it.
Yeah, and Mitchell Evans, I think, falls into that category. There's another guy from Nebraska. He's just built like a refrigerator. Thomas Fedone. He'd be more of a day 3 pick. But he's a big body, squared guy. He's got sneaky athleticism now. Like I'll tell you, you would never expect this guy to be so agile. You turn on the Nebraska film, and there's this refrigerator out there making these grabs over the middle of the field. Thomas Fedone.
You mentioned the Iowa kid. I was like, as a scout, you can't scout the helmet, but you might make an exception with Iowa tight ends. They just seem to develop them out there. It's pretty impressive. But from the standpoint, I'll give you, and make sure you follow again, Rick, on the X platform. It's at Rick Saratella, RIC. Make sure you subscribe to allaccessfootball.com. Get the NFL Draft Bible. Are we printing that thing? I'll put my request
no
in
hard
right
copy
now.
this year,
No hard
guys. You know,
copy.
we're just gonna do
All right,
strictly PDF.
I'm requesting my PDF on the air.
Yes, you will be
doing
getting a PDF, no doubt about it.
Love the NFL Draft Bible. Rick does a tremendous job, so you can get that at allaccessfootball.com. You know, one guy the Eagles brought in that is bringing in that was a little bit of a surprise to me was Maxwell Hairston, who's the Kentucky cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
Good zone guy, but they drafted Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You don't think they're doubling down, but the Eagles have Vic Fangio, and Vic Fangio loves off-man coverage, does all these unique, complicated zone coverages. Him specifically, and then the cornerback group, when you talk about guys who are prepared to play off coverage, who are your top guys in the draft?
Yeah, I think Hairston's an interesting guy because I think he can do both. Like he could play quarters coverage, he could play man coverage. I thought he showed a little bit of that versatility at the Senior Bowl. Now the issue with Hairston, he came in light at 183 pounds. That's my only knock on him. But 4.28 speed, 1.5, 10-yard split. The change of direction, the speed that man's going to be able to run with anybody, right? I have Jahdae Barron as another guy out of Texas who can do it all.
Yeah.
I love him. What he brings to the table. I think, people are maybe underrating him a little bit because he's 5'10". But he won the Thorpe Award for a reason because he's an elite cover man. So he would be somebody in the mix there. The Florida State kid, Azariah Thomas, I think is another guy I would put in that category. He was down there in Mobile and really elevated his draft stock. I don't know if he sneaks in to round 1, but he might be hanging out there in round 2. And then I'll give you a guy mid-round pick. I have a second or third round grade on him, but Noel Williams out of California. He went to the East-West Shrine Bowl, so he's a little bit more under the radar. But man, he's got that just ability to jump the route, read the quarterback eyes. I think he led the FBS with 8 interceptions this past year, the Noel Williams kid. And, if you're looking for a developmental guy, how about Za Frazier out of UTSA, 6'3", 4.36. He's been compared to Tariq Woolen, his former teammate, and for very good reason. So if you're looking for one of those bigger guys, Za Frazier from UTSA.
Yeah. They love lengthy guys. What do you think of Morrison? Because I loved his play at Notre Dame, but he had the hip injury. I think he could get some value there. If obviously he's going to get knocked down a little bit because of the injury.
Yeah.
What do you think about him as a prospect?
It's been eerily quiet on the injury front in terms of what his medical check was in Indianapolis. I don't know what that looks like because I think at the end of the day, that's what's ultimately going to determine where he goes and how comfortable teams are reviewing that because we don't have any measurables on file. He's 6 foot, 193. He didn't play a lot this year. I wasn't in love with his 2024 film. But there's not a body of work to go off of. You got to go back to last year. I thought his film was a lot more fluid and, better coverage. So day 2, if he's there, you're getting a guy that has day 1 talent, right? But that's the thing with injuries, a little bit more risk reward. I think that's why he slides into that day 2 conversation.
Yeah, Rick, last one for me, man. Somebody that's been talked about a lot in Philly, and that's Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. You like the player. What do you see there with Walter Nolan? And do you think he would fit well here in Philly?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this guy's probably the quickest defensive tackle, Mason Graham included. There's a lot of people in the scouting community who have Nolan ahead of Mason Graham. Smaller now. He came in at 297 pounds. He has the frame to grow and develop, but in terms of speed, quickness, the ability to rush the passer from the interior, the only thing that's going to come into question is the maturity or immaturity, character concerns that have been kind of swirling around him. But if you're comfortable and can get over that hump, this is a guy without the off-field character concerns is a top 10 talent. Where he slides, that Nolan might be a guy just like James Pierce. If he starts sliding, Howie Roseman could maybe put a package together for someone like that.
Yeah, that whole Ole Miss D line is good, Rick. The Jared Ivey's and another good
That's
guy.
what I'm telling you. Like, Ole Miss was so talented, and Jackson Dart couldn't deliver the ball.
Yeah, they were. By the way, you think Ohio State's beating Georgia's record? 15, I believe, in 2022.
Man,
Ohio State might get there, man.
That's a lot, you know.
That is a lot. That is a lot.
I'm going to take the under, but it's going to be close. I could see 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Rick Saratella, we love you, brother. We appreciate you joining in. Make sure you guys go and follow him at Rick Saratella and the NFL Draft Bible. By the way, great work you're doing with Brian Baldinger now. Tell the people where they can go and consume some of that content, man. That's
great. Thank you. Every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we have the NFL Draftcast show live streamed on Twitter, X, and YouTube. So make sure you go find it, like it, share it, subscribe it, and appreciate all the love and support.
Drop that YouTube channel, brother. What's the YouTube channel?
All Access Football.
Okay,
All Access Football. You can find us over there. I see all the chat room people. I love all you guys. I hope you come check us out. And man, you said 26 days. You're making me nervous.
Yeah, man. Good
stuff.
Man. Rick, thank you for joining in,
Thanks,
brother.
Bob.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Great stuff there from Rick Saratella. Always great to have our boy Rick Saratella on the show. One of the best in the business, John, in the NFL draft. Great stuff there, man. Some good takeaways on some of these key players. John, getting exciting, the draft. It's getting exciting for the Birds. I think the one thing that's putting a little bit of a damper on it for Eagles fans is you're sitting at 32, and most of us think Howie's trading back. So it's like night one, it's going to be the big spectacle, and the Eagles might not even make a pick. So that's all in the back of our mind. But boy, great breakdown by Rick there on some of the prospects.
Some of the guys that have visited that could be an option, and you know. I think if you're playing the odds, it's more likely to go back. Rick mentioned, a lot of guys have mentioned he had it at what, 10, and then the drop off, and then 11 to 50, makes sense. If you get similar value, makes sense to drop down, but you need two people to tango. And at 32, you need that quarterback. If you want to take advantage, really maximize the situation like they did in 2018. Not that people can't pick an edge rusher, but, if there's an edge rusher there, the Eagles probably want him. So you can look at it that way. So, if you're playing the odds, it's more likely to go down or up. But there's certain guys that if they start to fall, and they're probably going to be on the defensive front, they may make the targeted trade up. They can go both ways.
What about your thoughts on Rick on Shedeur Sanders? How about that first guy we've had on that was high?
Yeah, I mean, I like guys. I like guys who. There's a lot of group think in this.
Yes, I agree 100%, John.
And it's really interesting with fans. It's like they hear something and they hear Jeremiah saying, and it becomes gospel.
Right.
And I have a lot of respect for DJ. I mean, that's sort of what I do. There's guys, there's scouts I respect, and those are the guys I listen to over the years because. They have a good history. Rick's one of them. And those are the guys I listen to. I've always liked Emery Hunt is this way as well from Football Game Plan.
Football Game Plan, right?
Like he doesn't care what other people think. And look, I don't like Shedeur Sanders, but hey, I like it when Rick's like, you won't find anybody basically that'll say Shedeur Sanders is above Cam Ward, and I don't think he is, but Rick said it and he believes it, and I like that.
And he gave you why he believed it. I think that's a great point by you, John. Groupthink is no good, man, and having somebody that's but here's the other thing I like about that, John. Groupthink I think exists outside of all of the NFL. Like the NFL teams, for example, the Eagles are thinking like Rick, right? They make their own evaluations on players. They have their board. They evaluate players, and maybe they see it like Rick does or like any of the other people. But I do like having that different perspective. I thought Rick was awesome today, man. He's always awesome, but always got high energy, Johnny Mac, Rick Saratella.
Yeah, I mean, Rick's great, and he's on the ground floor. He's been a scout. He does scouting, so he knows how this stuff works. Good. I like, got him on the record about some of these measurements and how they do it differently, and it's not an exact science. So I think people get caught up in that. And that's why the combine's more important, because they're doing it the same way. And at least it's more realistic than the pro days. And some guys, like, when they don't do stuff, like, I don't think it's going to affect when you're as big a prospect as Abdul Carter. I don't think it's going to affect him. But there's very few people like that. And if you're one of those guys who's even a first round pick, a mid first round pick, and you're not working out, and there's some issues, it can really, really affect you. So I think there was some interesting discussion with that. But that's the way of the world. I mean, Abdul Carter knows where he's going, and, why mess with it?
Yep, no doubt about it. Great stuff there from Rick Serritella. I want to thank and welcome everybody for being here today. A little over an hour into the show. We got about 55 minutes left to go here on a Football Friday. Another week, Johnny Mac. I feel like these weeks are going faster and faster and faster and faster. I don't know what's going on, man. Already Friday, but appreciate all you guys being here. For everybody listening on the podcast, I continue to say this because the podcast is growing like a weed right now. So and when I say podcast, someone say, wait, I thought I was listening to a podcast on YouTube. You are, but podcast, the other platforms are the Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and that's an audio-only version of the show, but it's growing a lot over there. So we appreciate all the podcast listeners who are listening. Don't forget to leave a review on the show. Give us those 5 stars if you like the show. We appreciate that. It helps us grow. So hit that like button if you're here on YouTube. We'll be right back on Birds 365. We got 50 minutes left to go, and we'll have a little bit of fun here in the last 50 minutes of the week. So appreciate you all. We'll be right back in 3 minutes.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports, or your #1 Philadelphia Eagles show. Will be live all through the offseason, every morning, every weekday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. Give him a follow at JF McMullen. Give me a follow at Real Zander on X. And if you guys are on Instagram, you can follow me at Zander Krause Show. So appreciate that. Johnny Mac, we're wrapping up another week here as we get closer to the NFL draft. Not as many moves, obviously, as we're in, I don't know what you call this, phase 3 of free agency, phase no more phases of free agency. But they added Matt Pryor, made a couple of moves earlier in the week with Kendall Lamb, so mostly offensive line related, but it's starting to take shape. Still a long way to go, but you're starting to take shape for the 25 Eagles.
Yeah, and, we've talked about it. Right now, they're not I think it's fair to say that they're not as good as they were when they left the field in New Orleans as Super Bowl champions, but still plenty of work to be done. The draft is a big part of it. I mentioned post-draft. You're going to see phase 3, which is a little bit more important because there's certain guys who are holding out for some decent money. And right now, a lot of teams, not everybody, because not everybody's, and even the Eagles are not always in compensatory pick mode, as I like to call it, but they are this year. So the teams that are, they're not going to sign even Justin Simmons type players,
Right?
And risk losing a compensatory pick. So somebody's going to sign him after the draft, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the Philadelphia Eagles.
We'll see what ends up happening and all that stuff. John, you brought up the defense there. Yeah, I got a couple of questions here. John, you always bring up odds, and you bring up, what are the odds if something will happen, and regression to the mean and things of that nature. And I think it's a good way to look at things. And I was looking at something, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here on a Football Friday, but I want everybody to bear with me here. Can the Eagles really repeat as champs, John? And I'll give you, only 9 teams have repeated as Super Bowl champions in the history of the NFL. That's 15% of 59 Super Bowls. I know your roster obviously came back a lot, but look, a lot of Eagle fans, John, think that this window is open. Even me after the Super Bowl, I profess the golden era of the Philadelphia Eagles has started in terms of winning Super Bowls. I know it's a hard thing to do and tough to talk about at this point, but it's going to be an uphill battle for this team to go back and repeat.
Well, it's always an uphill battle. That's why it was such a big story leading into last year's Kansas City trying to three-peat, which has never happened. Yeah, it's always difficult. If you are just a pure odds guy, you're always not going to pick a team to repeat because it is so difficult. So, but the Eagles have a ton of blue chip players. They're better equipped, I would say, than most, because even though, if you look at the losses they've incurred, and there's far more on defense than offense, which is a concern because the defense was better than the offense, even though nobody seems to believe it or think it, or they were. And that's the group that showed all the attrition. And the one that I didn't see coming was CJ Gardner-Johnson. All the other ones knew they were going to lose Milton, knew they were going to lose Josh Sweat, knew Brandon Graham was going to retire. Slay wasn't 100%, but pretty clear they were going to go in a different direction. That's a lot of valuable players, and you're not even bringing up the backups, the Oren Burkses, the Isaiah Rodgers. I mean, that's a shitload of good players. But you can make a strong argument if we were a different world, an uncapped world, so to speak, like baseball or something like that, and they were able to bring everybody back, it was unlikely they're going to perform at that level. So I think people get too hyper focused on, what happened in the past, and understandably so, because when you're projecting for the next year, that's what you're doing. You're projecting. So I bring it up all the time with Rodgers. Rodgers was ahead of Ringo last year. So a lot of people default to that. Well, why didn't they sign Rodgers? He was ahead of Ringo. Well, they think Ringo's got the higher ceiling. That's the trick to the whole thing, the evaluation. Why didn't they sign Oren Burks? Well, they want to see what Trotter has, and Oren Burks is, if you use Oren as an example, he's got whatever 7 years in 3 different cities versus 5 games,
right?
Which is real. It's probably an outlier.
Yeah, right.
Fun. I think the Eagles made the right decision. With Ringo and Rodgers, yeah, I think Rodgers is the better 300, 400 snap player. Ringo, if you got to play 1,000, I think Ringo's better. Doesn't mean there's not going to be growing pains, but he's just more physically equipped to play that position. So if you do your job as a developmental organization, coaching, Kaylee Ringo should be the better player. So it's hard to argue what the Eagles have done. And then the money, the 2 best players they lost are Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. Nobody even questions that because of the money. You can't pay everybody. And you got to pay Jalen Carter $35 million, $40 million. Tough to pay Milton Williams $26.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about this defense here in a second. A lot of defense talk here in this final hour of the week, and we'll get into that. John, what do you think is harder, winning the Super Bowl or defending it?
Oh, defending it, yeah. I talked about that earlier this week with Buffalo, the 4 consecutive wins. I mean, 4 consecutive trips to the Super Bowl. No other team has ever done that. None. They're the only one. But, I get they never won, so people don't look at them like it's much more impressive to be consistently great than have one outlier. Now, everybody wants the Super Bowl. Everybody wants to win the Super Bowl. And that's not even, I'm not talking about the Eagles because they've gone 3 times in 8 years.
Right.
But when you see some of these teams spike up and have good years and then go back to 9-7, and again, not talking about the Eagles, that's not nearly as impressive as being consistently good year after year after year after year. That's what the Eagles are trying to accomplish. And for the most part, have been able to do it in the Nick Sirianni era. But you have the ups and the downs, and we know how 2023 ended. But boy, I think people forget they were 10-1, coming off a Super Bowl run. This team has been incredibly good in the Nick Sirianni era. But yes, you're going to have this attrition, and they've had it. And it doesn't only happen on the field. It happens off the field. They've lost executives. They've lost coaches. All of this makes it much more difficult to repeat than to go win it once.
Yeah, you bring up the 10-1 in 2023. I have a stat. Now, I don't like this stat because it's not fair, okay, but I'll still give it to you. Since 22, Hurts is 25-5 in the regular season when you take out the 23 collapse. Again, you can't do that. We can't. But to John's point, you started that year so high. Obviously, it was a team-wide collapse at the end of 2023. With that being an outlier now in Hurts' 4 years starting, you know, they win a lot of football games, and we'll see what they do. John, let's talk about this defense, man. You just talked about a bunch of things, and one of our viewers had a question, and I want to go to him. Philly Don, one of our great viewers here. Philly Don, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being a member. He brings up a good point here, you know, and I talk defense. He says, are we really more concerned about the D-line and edge, or should we be more concerned with safety and corner? You lost Slay and you lost Gardner Johnson. I think there's become a little bit of a what's the right word for it? Confirmation bias of some sorts, that every pick we have in the chamber is going to work. Every guy that gets elevated is going to work. All the draft picks that Howie spent are going to work with Keeley and Sidney. And, you know, I think that's a fair question by Philly Dunn. What do you think?
Well, I preach it every day. They're not going to work. Not everything's not going to work. And that's why the Eagles have done this sort of layering plan where they want to bring in an insurance policy for each of these young players they want to step up. With Will Shipley, you know, you have A.J. Dillon. With Kaylee Ringo, you have Adoree Jackson. With even with all offensive linemen like Tyler Steen, you bring in Kenyon Green.
Right.
And now they have Matt Pryor. They go even deeper. But when you talk about defensive line versus, and I'll call it defensive front versus defensive back. I mean, the history and the foundation of this team is built on both sides of the football. Up front on both sides of the football, offensive line, defensive front. And it's been very successful. And it's just more important. It's more important in the organization's mind. And, you know, it always works in concert, as JG used to say, rush and cover, cover and rush, but rush is more important. And the defensive front is more important to this team. And I think it's served them well. And when you lose players at the level of Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, you got to repopulate. And right now they need to repopulate. The two positions that they don't have insurance for right now, at least veteran insurance, is defensive tackle and safety. And they're going to get it. Can't tell you when, but they're going to get it. But the goal is, and you've seen it throughout the roster, young players, time to step up. We need young players to play. But you can't just hand them things. I mean, they've been very good about making sure that if some of these players, and some of them will fail, they're not all going to work. That I can guarantee.
Yep, I agree.
You got somebody else, and it might be Adoree Jackson. It might be Azeez Ojulari or Josh Uche. It might be even, you know, Justin Simmons might be here. Like I said, they're all not going to work. That I can guarantee.
See what they end up doing here. A lot of turnover on that defense, John. Number one in the NFL last year. Arguably the biggest reason that the team is Super Bowl champions is because of how well that defense played game in and game out. Playoffs, Super Bowl, NFC championship. Every single game they needed to show up, they showed up. And now you lose a lot of those people. What does Vic Fangio have to do to keep this unit top five? I mean, I know we talk about player-based, John, and I, you know, talent is always comes first, and I agree to that. I agree with that. But at what point have the Eagles put a bet or put their faith in what Vic Fangio does? Because you get rid of Milton, you get rid of Sweat, you get rid of CJ, you get rid of Slay, you get rid of Oren, you get rid of Isaiah. Like, at some point, they have to believe in what Vic is going to do to keep the defense competent. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, I think they have a lot of belief in Vic. That's pretty clear. I think they had a lot of belief in Vic last year. I mean, I think people forget what that defense was thought of coming into the season, you know, and where, you know, I got laughed at in training camp for saying Nakobe Dean was the best linebacker on the team. It turned out I was incorrect, by the way, but the best linebacker on the team ended up being Zach Bond, which nobody had. Nobody thought Zach Bond was going to be Zach Bond.
People thought Devin White, Johnny Mac. People forget about Devin
And
White.
I'm not even picking on Devin White, but, you know, I am picking on some of the people who said that, but, you know, Jalen Carter wasn't Jalen Carter. Yeah, there were a lot of people saying, "Well, he didn't play enough. He didn't do this. He didn't have the durability. He didn't have the conditioning to play late in the season. He only played 500 and whatever snaps. Can he play a lot?" You know, the same stuff with Jordan Davis. Nobody believed in Nolan Smith. Nobody. They had a rookie, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean. I mean, come on. Nobody thought that. And now they're entrenched. And it's better to have, remember, they have all these blue chip players. They have a blue chip player at every level. Jalen Carter up front, Zach Bond at linebacker. And then you can argue Quinyon and Cooper in the defensive backfield. That's a good position to be in. You know, like, no offense, because they did a phenomenal job and they're good players and they're good NFL players. But, you know, there was a weird sort of cult of Isaiah Rodgers. So I'm not going to say, because there's a lot of people that believed in Isaiah for whatever reason. Not a lot, but a decent amount. Like, nobody gave a flip about Oren Burks. He got cut. Never. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you lose players like that every year. It's not that big of a deal. The bigger deal is far more upfront, you know. And it took 4 years for Milton to get to be Milton. That got $26 million.
Yeah, right.
It took Josh Sweat 3 years to turn into a really good defensive end in this league. So I think part of what Billy Don said about the assumption that everybody's going to hit, boy, yeah, that got a little bit skewed last year by Quinyon and Cooper.
Right.
Even if they do hit, it generally takes some time. And that part is probably going to regress back to normal, I would say.
Yeah, we'll see what the Birds can do here. We're going to get into the draft again. I got a couple things to run by John. I'm going to follow up here from Philly Don again. Philly Don, thank you for the great comments this morning. He said this is a good question, just to follow up on what he talked about. If you have a safety or a corner that grades out better than a defensive front player, who do you take? Are you still going with the D-line player?
Well, I mean, it depends. What are we talking about? If we're talking about, if we're talking,
Malachi Starks is there and they love him, and let's say,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah, defensive front, yeah, even. No,
well, he's saying grades out better than a defensive front player.
Yeah, well, that depends on how much better. You know, you're not going to take a defensive front player who's, like I always say, the Eagles grade players in clusters, and they'll have 4 or 5 guys they want to get at 32 if they're going to stay at 32.
Right.
They probably aren't. They're not just putting 4 defensive front, but 4 offensive linemen in that cluster. They're grading out players. So no, you're not going to take a defensive front player just because he's a defensive front player over a better graded player.
Right.
But if you're in the same cluster, yeah, they're going to take the offensive lineman or the defensive front player.
Yeah. Can't hate on that. That's part of what makes this team great. John, speaking of the trenches, speaking of the NFL draft, all right, we just had Rick Saratello on. We had Ian Cummings on last week. We're going to get 2 weeks ago. We're going to have Ian Cummings on again on Tuesday of next week. So we'll have plenty of good draft talk for you guys as we get closer and closer and closer to the draft. Have any of the draft guys swayed you, John? Who do you like for the Birds at this point? And I'm not even only talking about first round. Who do you like for this team to try and target in the NFL draft here to build this roster out?
Well, who do I like? Is different from, I think, who the Eagles like. I'm very hyper focused. Me personally, I'm very hyper focused on edge rushers. And if one of the group of guys, but I also guarantee. So Rick mentioned, I think, 5 guys. I have 6, but he's got Shamar inside, which I think actually helps him. And if you have that versatility to play inside and outside, because the Eagles need help at both spots, I think that might actually help them in their minds.
Eagles like that, like versatility. At least it seems they do.
So I don't think, and it's interesting, that the off the field stuff keeps popping up with Mike Green. So that has me thinking, well, could he fall for that stuff? That would be nice for the Eagles if
he falls and Big Dom gives me the go, I'm drafting him all day.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, but my assumption to this point has been Carter's not going to be there, obviously. Pierce isn't going to be there. Green's not going to be there. And probably Mikael Williams isn't going to be there. So, realistically, you're talking about the kid from BC and Stewart, who could potentially drop. And then I think the next guys, I don't think Nick Scourton or Landon Jackson are worthy. So then I think you have to think about a different position or moving down. So those are the guys that I've been focused on. For the Eagles, man, they're obsessed with the offensive line.
I know.
And I mean, they keep bringing it on. And here's the thing as well. There's if you don't get a good offensive lineman early in this draft, you're probably not going to get a good offense. It's not nearly as deep as last year's group, whereas defensive front, so that factors into it, is probably deeper.
All right.
It's very deep. So they might think they could do it that way, get the offensive line, then get a worthy defensive front player a little bit later. They tend to think more about value. I tend to think more about, what they need. And they're probably right. You don't want to get caught up in what you need too much. But to go back to our earlier discussion when about if a cluster of players, everybody's even, they're going to take the defensive front player. Well, 90% of the time, but if they have no corners, it might change their philosophy.
Right.
On a particular, that's not the case now, but in previous years, that factors into it as well. So it's not like 100% hard and fast rule, but it's how he explained on the record when he drafted Cam Jurgens, and that pissed people off. He's like, "Hey, it's how we roll. We're taking those guys."
Yeah, I'm not going to be mad at that. And also, Howie, remember you've been on the Howie comments about how honest he's been. If you listened to him earlier in the year, I think they're going trenches in round 1. I do not see. I know people like Malachi Starks. I do not see it in round 1 at all, even if he's there and they like him. I just think they're going trenches. I think they're going defensive tackle, defensive line, defensive end, and offensive lineman. We'll see what they do here. John, you said Donovan Izaraku. That's that BC kid. I thought Rick's breakdown of him was pretty good. PFF has him ranked at 16 on their big board. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to go 16 or top 16, but that's pretty high ranking for that guy. I don't even know if he's going to be there at 32. There is a world that exists, John, where all of the edge rushers we've talked about are gone.
Yeah,
now, it's
I said that.
because somebody's got to fall, but there is a world that exists where those guys could be donezo.
Yeah, I said that. It's a very important position around the NFL. That's like one of those positions that is universally regarded as near the top of every organization. And everybody knows you need a bunch of them as well. You need a rotation for the most part. There's a couple guys who, the Max Crosbys of the world, but you generally need a deep room and a deep group, and everybody realizes that. And then I've already mentioned that there's a possibility that all 6 of those guys won't be there at 32. There's a big possibility.
Right.
And that's when you have to start about, if you like a player, maybe the targeted trade up, and the Eagles have enough draft capital to do that. So, if they want to go in that direction, but, there's other positions as well. And offensive line is one of them. I mean, they keep
Rick comments on Gray Zabel, man. That's a Stoutland guy.
Yeah, he's very versatile.
Probably going to be gone, right?
I think he's going to be gone. I haven't heard, the Eagles haven't, we only have 11, I think, visits to this point. So there's 19 we don't know. So there's plenty, but the offensive linemen have been leaking out, and I think we're at 6 of the 11 are offensive linemen. 6 of the 11 are offensive linemen. I think that says a lot, because I do think it's not as deep. So if you miss in the first grouping, and by first grouping, I don't mean, top 10, top 15. I mean, first, second rounds, then you might have an issue getting somebody that is, potentially can help you right away, at least.
Right. Right.
But if you think about, we mentioned them all. I brought up all 6 with Rick. And the one that is no doubt potential at 32, I would say, is Josh Connerly from Oregon. He's in that equation. And then Donovan Jackson was interesting to me because he might be in that equation from Ohio State. And then it's a bunch of, I think, second round guys with Belton and Embo and Travis and
right.
Charles Grant. Charles Grant might have the biggest upside, but that depends on your evaluation. He played at William and Mary. How do you judge that? That ain't easy. But they're looking at a boatload of offensive linemen.
We'll see what they end up doing there. John, I thought your question to Rick on Shamar Stewart, a guy that shows incredible athleticism, versus a guy like James Pierce, who people talked about maybe was a little bit of a letdown at the pro day, but was a production machine when he was on the field. I want to ask your personal opinion. Like, how would you grade that? Me personally, and I'm not saying I'm right or a draft expert. I'm not. I like talking to guys like Rick who are, but I would side with the production on the field. I know flashy is great. I know athleticism is great, especially an organization that believes that they can develop players. They like that athleticism. I understand that, but I got to side with the guy who produced on the field. How do you see that?
Generally, I agree with that. Pierce is difficult because he was so poor at the combine in explosiveness. Rick brought up, you can see, I love Rick to death. You can see, because he had a good 40 time, and he did.
Yeah.
But his broad jump and his vertical were just disasters. And maybe he just had a bad day. And I said his vertical was a disaster. And that usually, that's what they measure explosion on. So that concerns me, but not enough to overtake, what he did. Then this is why scouting's so difficult. He's from Tennessee. So if you're Philadelphia, you went through Derek Barnett. Now, objectively, James Pierce had nothing to do with Derek Barnett and vice versa. But, that was the knock on Derek Barnett. He was tremendously productive, but was he good enough athletically? Well, the answer is now we know, no. He's a good player. He's still in the NFL. But he's not worthy of where he was selected. That stuff factors into it, messes with your head. But I generally lean on he's a good player in the SEC. He's athletic from the standpoint of the 40-yard dash. That maybe indicates to me that he just had a bad day at the other stuff. And he's just a good football player. So if the off the field stuff, which Rick also mentioned, you have to factor that into it. It's probably a more difficult evaluation, but yeah, I trust him much more than Shamar Steppen, if that's your question. I would trust James Pierce a lot more, but there's plenty of red flags as well.
Yeah, Rick brought up. I didn't hear any red flags on Well, what are the red flags on James Pierce? He said
I don't know the off the field stuff. I don't know them. I try not to get involved with that because I don't have that information. Like
Right.
there's two things you generally don't hear me talk about. Now there's some high profile issues like Jalen Carter, where
Right.
everybody knew. There's court cases and blah, blah, blah. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these whispers you hear about same thing with Mike Green, and it's
right.
more concrete there, but they're whispers about a bunch of players. I can't. Same thing with medical. I can't and Rick admitted it too. I don't know what Benjamin Morrison's medical says. So it's difficult, and that's why NFL teams have all this information, have better decision-making information. So I don't know anything about what's going on, and that's part of your process, and that's part of why you have to do all this due diligence and meet with players and try to figure out as best as you can who they are as people. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter with James Pierce. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the Eagles. So it's going to be somebody else's problem or solution if everything turns out correctly. But in general, to your question, yeah, I would rely more on the guy who performed at the highest level in college football than a guy who didn't produce at the highest level in college football, but is a better athlete.
Yeah. We'll see what they end up doing. I didn't see any of those. I didn't see any of the character concerns either. It is a tough conversation, John. Like even the Mike Green one, like there's no information. And I think that's even harder, right? Like if there's a court case and it's public and it's the Jalen Carter's case, you can go to Georgia, talk to the coaches. You can go to talk to the guy who was in the car with Carter. You can talk to people. You can get information if you're Big Dom. In the case of Mike Green, there's been no charges. There's not really a lot of information out there. Like, it's a tough thing to gauge if you're a football team on Mike Green. I don't know what you would do about that, but I'm sure they have a better process than I would.
Well, I mean, the best example I can give you recently was La'el Collins, if you remember him, the offensive lineman, played with the Cowboys. Probably going to be a top 10 pick, maybe top 15 pick from LSU. And there was some kind of shooting of a woman who he had previously had a relationship with. And he wasn't even a suspect. And he didn't get drafted. Had nothing to do with it. And he went from sure buyer, first round pick, to undrafted because it happened. Now it happened really close to the draft.
Right. So it spooked people. Guilt by association.
It spooked everybody. And they didn't even draft the kid. And he ended up, he never lived up to the hype of being a top 10 pick, but he was a good player in Dallas, really good player, legitimate starter. And was still in the league. Last year, I think, was hurt, but he was still in the league in 2023. Didn't even get drafted. Went from short buyer, first round pick to not getting drafted for something he had nothing to do with.
Yeah. And guilt by association because former girlfriend was, you got to be careful who the company you keep, I guess. But I hate the world, John, that we live in of, guilty until proven innocent instead of innocent until proven guilty.
Well, yeah, but then in that instance, are you really going to pay millions of dollars to somebody like you have no information?
Yeah, right. I get it. It's a complex issue.
Yeah. So I can't even blame the teams. The timing was just crazy from his perspective. And he ended up making a ton of money, so it worked out for him. But yeah, I mean, he didn't even get drafted. Nobody would even take a chance in day 3. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. So a lot of tough stuff to still talk about before this NFL draft. 27 days away from the NFL draft. Did I say 28 or 27? But anyway, it's getting closer, Johnny Mac, and the offseason is going to 27 days. So it's going to take a big turn again once we make our picks on in the NFL draft. I'm looking forward to doing it, but until then, we prepare and we continue to build out this team and we continue to break it down for the great people of JAKIB Nation. So we'll see what's next in this offseason.
Yeah, plenty of stuff to go. I think, that's another thing Howie said, patience. And I think you saw early on when they weren't signing anybody. Now, they're all 1-year Temu signings, but they signed a shitload of players, far more than they usually do, because obviously they're all cheap and cost effective in 1-year deals. But if you think about, so I'm looking at the list. Harrison Bryant, A.J. Dillon, Josh Uche, Charlie Hewlett, Adoree Jackson, Patrick Johnson's back, Avery Williams, Kylan Granson, Azeez Ojulari, Kendall Lamb, Matt Pryor this week. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 new players in free agency. That doesn't even count the trade pickups, Dorian Thompson Robinson, Kenyon Green. 13 players. 13 new players, potential new players. Now, not all of them are going to make the roster, but Can you imagine 13 of 53? Pretty significant turnover.
It's a big turnover, man. That's why I brought up the questions about the defense. It's like they think Vic Fangio is like the second coming of Christ because they got rid of his whole defense and they're like, do it again, Vic. Come on, we need you to do it again.
That's sort of what you do. You're counting on Jalen Carter up front. Right. You're counting on Zach Bond. They paid Zach Bond. You're counting on Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You're counting on Reed Blankenship. You're counting on Nakobe Dean returning. You have the core group, and you're just trying to fill in the guys around them. And right now, the fill-ins don't look as impressive as the fill-ins that left.
No, they don't. But we'll see if there's this year's version of Zach Bond, which John has cautioned you all that it will not exist this year. I think John's probably right. But John, who's your favorite of the? You said Azeez. I got Uche as the number one bargain signing, and I'm surprised you're not more in that camp because I was looking at the PFF ratings or gradings of Uche and Ojulari, and Uche was a little bit more like this, right? Ojulari was more like steady. And I like steady for a starter. But if you want a guy in a reserve, a guy who's, a situational pass rusher, or you want a guy that you just need to do one thing, like I think I'd rather have the guy that has higher highs because I think Vic can pull it out of him. And if he does, you're going to get more out of that player versus if you just get a middling guy, that's a reserve player. You're probably just going to stink.
Well, I mean, if you're playing the contract game, they're all going to stink. But, I think a couple reasons. One, the Eagles have had a long interest in Azeez Ojulari. They liked him coming out. It's one of those things. They paid him more money. That tells you something.
Yeah, that's
even
true.
Though it's again, they were willing to give up a potential compensatory pick for Azeez Ojulari, which is a big thing. from their mindset. Everything like so when I talk about with players here, I think it's more understandable. Like they want Will Shipley, they want Tyler Steen, they want Kaylee Ringo, they want Moro Jomo, they want Sidney Brown, they want these young players to step up. Guys that have been here. With guys that are just here, it's a little bit tough, but it's still the same way. Of the grouping, they want it to be Azeez Ojulari. So he's starting. He's got the head start.
You're right. Yeah.
It's his job
to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's his job to lose. Could Uche, play better? Sure. Of course he could. I'm not sold on Azeez Ojulari. But of the Temu off signings, he's their crown jewel. That's the crown jewel of the Temu off season. And that's identified by the contract. Of the ones we know, Harrison Bryant, 1 year, $1.2 million. AJ Dillon, 1 year, $1.34 million. Uche, 1 year, 1.92. Hewlett, 1.142. Jackson, 1.75. Granson, 1.75. Ojulari, $3.5 million. It's the crown jewel.
Yeah.
That's Zach. By the way, that's Zach Bond's contract, people.
So they think Azeez is going to be next coming of the greatness of Zach Bond. Come on, John. Let me believe it for a second.
Howie's on record. Yeah. Howie's the one who could spike the football. And to his credit, he did not. He said flat out, I had no fucking idea. He didn't say fucking, I added fucking.
Yeah.
I had no
idea.
idea.
I don't think we've had one F-bomb.
There we go. I just ruined it. He admitted flat out, I had no idea. Brought him in to be a backup edge rusher and a special teams, really special teams. He thought he was going to be the best special teams player on the team.
Yeah. We got a couple of super chats here coming in late in the show. Thank you guys. People are asking John's height in the chat. They say you're 5'6". Not Johnny Mac's not 5'6". You're like 5'10".
5'11".
5'11". I was gonna say.
It's because of that camera. I'm down because I got a low chair.
Yeah, there you go. JD3 says, when are we going to re-sign Harrison Bryant, the real crown jewel, the Mackey Award winner, Harrison Bryant?
Yeah, they're not going to. They're not going to re-sign Harrison Bryant now.
If Harrison Bryant does literally anything,
if he makes the team,
I will buy you a Harrison Bryant jersey, JD3. I don't think he will do anything, but if he catches one ball, if he catches a touchdown, if he gets us a first down, I
think he's got a legit shot to be the third tight end. I think Conley, the winner of Harrison Bryant versus Conley Granson, that's going to be probably the third tight end. Either Dallas is going to be back or they're going to draft a pretty significant one. Grant's still going to be here for one more year. So really they're trying to find a tight end 3. And if I were to pick between Harrison Bryant and Conley Granson, I'd rather have Harrison Bryant. So there you go, JD3.
There you go, JD3. Brian Pumper checking in. Here he is. Okay, what's a show? What is a show without Brian Pumper? I don't know. He checks in and he says, Candied Yams. Who is Candied Yams? Azeez? Who is the nickname Candied Yams for, Pumper? Can you please clarify? He says Candied Yams, Joshua and Keyshawn Green, not moving the needle, Zander. Howie dropped the ball, fellas. 0 for 3 on off seasons after the Super Bowl. SMH.
Candied yams. I like a good candied yam. But I don't know if that's Tyler Steen or Matt Pryor. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not in love with the right guard situation. But again, you're speaking from a luxury position, man. I mean, you got 4 freaking Pro Bowl level players and really 3 all-pro level players. I mean, look at the rest of the league. Mekhi Becton wasn't supposed to be Mekhi Becton before last year. I mean, the bare minimum, they're going to have a top 5 offensive line with those 4 guys. And then you need to find somebody who can play right guard, and you got enough bodies, and it might end up being Trevor Keegan. Who knows? You should have enough bodies to find somebody who can play between Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson, as opposed to the rest of these direct teams who would kill to get 2 good offensive linemen. So I can't worry too much about the Eagles' offensive line. But right now, I don't like the right guard situation. I would agree with that, if that's what Pumper's saying.
I think Candied Yams is Kendall Lamb.
All right. There we go.
Brian Pumper.
Well, he's not in the right guard conversation. He's just the backup swing tackle.
He's not doing much. J-Mac, tell him ladies should know height doesn't matter when we're both laying down.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I got nothing.
Pumper.
I got nothing against 5'6". If I were 5'6", I'd have no problem with it. But I'm 5'11". Yeah. Not that that's tall. That's average height.
Yeah, I'm 5'10". I'm right there with you, 5'10 and a half or so. All right, good stuff, Johnny Mac. Your final thoughts on this Football Friday to close up another week of Birds 365.
Brandon Hunt is at Maryland's Pro Day, according to our buddy Andrew DeCecco. So there you go. There's some intel. Good draft talk with Rick Saratella. Love Rick. I think he got a lot of good information. Eagles continue to schedule these top 30 visits. Obviously, pro days are going on across the country. Ohio State was earlier this week. As Rick mentioned, I heard 150. He said 140. That's how many NFL people are at Ohio State. Ohio State has a chance to break the all-time record for most players drafted. I'm with Rick. I doubt they get to 15. 15 is the record, but they had 17 potential prospects, I think, and most of them are going to get drafted. So they're going to be close. That's how talented that team was. Donovan Jackson was an interesting one for me for the Eagles, because there's your right guard. Then all of a sudden you start saying, "Oh, all right, here we go." But a lot of ways to go. 32 might be a little bit steep, but boy, if you could fill in that right guard spot, you're going to run the ball, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
This guy put up 32 reps at 225. It's pretty good.
We'll see what ends up happening, Johnny Mac. John, great week of shows, brother. We will catch you on Monday on Birds 365. All right, my man?
All right, everybody have a good weekend. Thank you.
You too, Johnny Mac. See you, John. There's John McMullen, #1 Eagles beat reporter on the show here on Birds 365. We got some giveaways today. All right, we're going to do a couple giveaways today. I told you guys we would do that yesterday. Good show. Rick Saratella, great stuff from Rick Saratella today. Thought he was awesome. Great deep dive into the NFL draft. Great show as always. You guys have been great in the chat as well. Hit that like button. I think we're lacking on likes. What is up with this morning crowd? Why do we not get likes from the great? What do I have to do to get more likes? Is it the show? I don't think it's the show, because you guys show up every day. I mean, hope everybody's doing good on this Football Friday, though. I'm ready to kick it around on Zander time. All right. I'm ready to kick it around on Zander time here. All right. We at work, Zay. Nice, Jason. Keep grinding, bro. You and me both, 18. Yo, 18, these bills don't pay themselves, bro. All right? The chat pulls up and they don't close the chat to see the likes. I think you're right. I think it's laziness. I don't know what it is. All right? I like everyone before the show starts. Bird Gang Girl, that's why you're my girl, because you like the show before you even click in. There you go. Thank you, Bird Gang Girl. I Shine checking in. What's up, I Shine? Rico Mart. Yo, Rico, you won yesterday and you weren't here. I hate to break it to you. Your name was selected in the picker and you're out of here. So, Rico, sorry about that. All right. Oh, that's why, because of likes. People can't get to their phones. Nice, A-Team. I got you, bro. I got you. There was something I wanted to talk about on Zander Time today that I'm blanking on. Oh, Brian. All right, no, that's not Brian Pumper. I was going to say, Brian Pumper didn't change his picture, did he? We got Brian Pumper Jr. in the chat. Who the hell is this? Who just changed their name to Brian Pumper Jr.? Yeah, we don't need two. Yeah, I'm gonna try and get Rick on for sure more. Rick is awesome, man. He's great. He used to have a show here in Jacob, just didn't really work out with his schedule and stuff. He's a busy dude, and in the middle of the day we had an hour show, so it didn't really work out for a daily show with Rick, but I'd love to do more with Rick, man. He's a smart dude. He's good too. He's good on air. Not everybody that's smart is good on air. So he was good on air. Excellent stuff there from Rick Saratella. So we'll talk to him at least again before the draft, at least one more time. Gotta talk to him at least one more time before the draft. So we'll do that. But he was great. I mean, his show is great. I agree with Exciting Whites. I loved his show when it was here. He was one of the dudes who really ended because it was too busy. He was too busy. It was too hard. He has his daughter, his kids and stuff. So, but I do love Rick Saratella. He's a great guy too. He's a really good guy. Smart dude, good guy. All right. Who the hell is Brian Pumper Jr.? Did we get an answer on this yet? Because I don't want two of you. Pump, I love you, but you can't be duplicated. All right. And if anything, it's a compliment to you. Give me a sec, guys. I'm producing something on the fly here. If you ever watch Birds 365 and it looks like I'm doing something, that's because I'm the producer and the host of this whole network. So I constantly am pulling clips and making thumbnails and doing all sorts of things. So, boy, quiet in the chat today. We're quiet in the chat. If you're here anybody want to do a giveaway or no? No giveaway? All right. I'll check out of here. Yo, Wilfredo, what's up, my boy? Brian Pumper pumped out of Jr. Leave it to Bob Brown to come up with a Big Z wears multiple hats and they're all Kango. I had a Phillies hat on yesterday. That wasn't Kango. But I do like the Kango. The Kango baseball hats are fire, man. Joe Webb, no Kango giveaways. All right? No Kango giveaways. I do like the Kango baseball, though. I got a couple more of these coming in. Yeah, I got a couple more of these coming in. I like these. I got this in tan, too, but I don't like this one as much. This is like that cotton material. It's like baseball. It's just not as... I like this one. This is Kango material in a baseball hat. That's fire. That's what I like. So I got a couple more of them. Coming. They are only $60. Kangos are not cheap. Kangos are not cheap. Believe me, I know. Doesn't bother me, though. Basically, every day there's at least a cart working on Kango.com. Doesn't mean it's being ordered, but there's a cart working. All right? There's a cart working on Kango.com. Right now, I got a cart working. The cart total is up to $278.38. All right? When will I pull the trigger? Soon. Soon. Dre Tucker. Yes, giveaways. All right, Dre, I got you. What's your top 3 all-time draft prospect from Alabama? That's a crazy question. Derrick Henry went in the 2nd round. That's crazy talk. He's a good one. Obviously, Julio Jones got to be number 1. How about Jalen Hurts, number 3? All right. Brian Pumper III. All right, dickheads. All of you assholes. Who said they were going to become Brian Pumper III? Because now he's become Brian Pumper III. Oh, no. Don't tell me we need a 3rd. Now people are just dubbing you Pump. Pump, what are you going to do about this? Because let me see what this is. Pumper the third. Where's Brian Pumper the second? Let me see if I can figure out who it is. Ah, I see who Brian Pumper Jr. is. I know who Brian Pumper Jr. is. I've located the account. Well, Fredo says, Xander, you enjoyed opening day yesterday. Phillies game was fire. It was a great game. I enjoyed opening day. Thought the Phillies were good, man. They're swinging and everything. I don't know what they do with their bat. They just, and I know the sun was out and the shadows and the 4 p.m. game, but like, dude, they chase everything. They chase everything. Like I watched Castellanos hacking. I'm like, dude, just hold the bat, hold. And again, I don't like being the guy that's like, we'll do this and I don't play, but drives me crazy. The plate discipline of some of these dudes. The Kango easy carry 5 panel is actually fires you. What are you talking about? Easy carry 5 panel? 4 p.m. killed me. Yeah, 4 p.m. is not a good time for a baseball game. I have 4 Kangos, the spot to burnt down in Philly. Suit corner. Nice. 4 Kangos. Gonna up. Those are rookie numbers. 4 Kangos. I order 4 plus per order. Those are some rookie numbers. It's a new hat that dropped. Wait a second. You're not getting a new Kango by me. Kango 4, 5 panel. I have some funky Kangos. I like to. Where is this? Easy carry 5 panel. Not a big fan. Not a big fan. Probably wouldn't get this. Not going to lie to you, Rich. How much does a Kango cost? Like $50. This is a classic. This is 50. If you go like a little nicer, you get 60, 70. $50 though. Your boy Big Z's got some hookups to get a little bit off. All right. Howard Nolte says, I feel for Mike Green with the allegations. I find it very suspect when there's no evidence to back up. I'm with you, Howard. I'm 100% with you, bro. It's a tough conversation because those type of allegations would show character. Do you worry about bringing that guy in your locker room? But then on the same time, are we really going to ruin a young man's life over an allegation with no charges, no evidence, no information? Tough situation, man. Very tough situation. All right. Rich, you like that 5 panel? It's growing on me as I'm looking at it. You want to show the people? Let's show the people. What I'm trying to get, Joe Whip, is I'm trying to look at this is the 5 panel. It's a hat. I don't really know what's going on. Is there are they pouches on the hat? What is that? You can see my cart is working up here. All right. You can see that little blue button. I'm not going to show you what's in the cart, though. But I live on Kango's website. That sucker's on my yeah, Siglord, dude. Xander ate my dog. There's no proof he did it, but he did it. It's so true. So true. It's a good point. It's a good point. All right. All right, let's do some giveaways because y'all are boring today. I guess I'm the one who's supposed to not be boring. All right, we'll do some giveaways. Let me see. Dank, I'm shipping you today. Chip Snyder. I printed your label. I didn't ship it yet. I'll ship it today. Chad, I'm still working on Chad. What do we got here? That's a 2X. Small. I want to give away. I'll do the same thing. I like letting you guys pick. All right. I like letting you guys pick. So I'll let you guys pick. We'll do a legend giveaway, and the legend will get a shirt and a hat. All right. So the hats are here. Showed you guys the hats. I still might keep the pink hat. I don't know yet. Haven't decided if I want to give it to one of you knuckleheads or keep it. Maybe I'll keep a green one. I don't know. I got 6 hats. I'm going to keep one and give 5 away. All right. Bob Brown says he picks the Coop jersey. All right, Bob. All right, Bob. I love this patch, though. I don't have a hat with this patch. Champions. All right, here we go. Let me get the list. Takeem, what's up, bro? You're our second longest standing member. Did you know that? Your Pops is a fire. Dude, my Pops has more Kangas than he knows what to do with. I promise you that. All right. I'm liking that 5-panel all of a sudden. All right. I'm liking that 5-panel, Rich. Here we go. At the airport. Joe's coming back. Joe, you done in Florida for the year? You done in Florida until post-summer? Or are you back? You going to go back? We'll be back in the summer. What do you mean in the summer? You're going to go to Florida in the summer? That's the one time of the year I don't want to go to Florida. It's the summer. Z, I like the Kanga you showed. Which one, Bird Gang Girl? This one? It's all right. Is the Legend member not the regular subscription? Legend member is a higher subscription. It's basically supporting of the channel. So I don't know if you're on Legend or not. I'll look. Oh, the 5-panel. Oh, yeah. Nice. Did I hear Z say pink hat? This. So, Devin, this was their parade hat. It's got pink. You can see the pink. It's got the Eagles logo on the side. And it's nice, but it's pink. Got the pink back. It's nice, though. Oh, can play Tiburon back for 30 bucks. Nice, Joe. Joe, I was dusting off the clubs. I haven't played in a long time. It's been over a year. Yo, Rich, I'm going to take the L, bro. I think you and Bird Gang Girl convinced me because I still got it up on my screen over here. And I'm looking and I'm like, wait a second, that's kind of fire. All right. Maybe I'll hit the range this weekend. Oh, who wants to know what I'm doing this weekend? I got something on the agenda for tomorrow. Well, first off, it's always a great weekend because my beautiful sister-in-law is having her baby shower. Remember back in a post-game show in the year, I announced my brother and his wife are pregnant. Well, she's pregnant, but they're having their first child. So they're having the baby shower this weekend. So my girlfriend's going, my mom is going, my sisters are all going, everybody's going, all right? Which, as you know, your boy Big Z's got nothing on the agenda. So it's 78 and sunny tomorrow. 78 and sunny. You know what I'm doing? I'm going to be outside all day. All right. I will not be inside tomorrow. All right. When it gets nice out, I do not stay inside. I like to be outside. So right now, yeah, 79 and sunny tomorrow. It's going to be. I will be shooting hoops is one thing I'll be doing. Maybe I'll get up to golf clubs. But what am I? No, not in the boat. I don't have a boat. No. But where am I going tomorrow? Does anybody know? There's a grand opening for something tomorrow. Does anybody know what it is? There is a grand opening tomorrow. Nice, Bird Gang Girl. It sounds like a good day. Well, Fredo, I'm talking to you, bro. You need to practice, man, if you want to come and Dre, it's not easy. I'm telling you, man. People have issues with this. Lancaster, no. Zander got a boat. Did not get a boat. It would not be the first thing I would buy. How about a house first, Mikey G, and then Dick's Sporting Goods? Not going there, although I do like going to Dick's because I got, they got Athletica stuff. I like going in there. I like it, but I always buy stuff when I'm in there. No, basketball game's not this weekend, Yappa. No Eagle store, no new Eagle store. All right, there is the opening of, I really thought somebody was going to get it, of a new cheesesteak place in Philly. Okay, now that I've given you that information, does anybody know who or what store is opening? And don't Google it. What store is opening this weekend in Philly? A cheesesteak spot down by the stadiums in South Philly. It's in Philly, yeah. Sig Lord, I'm not afraid of the city like you. Yeah, sissy. Nope, not Bradley Cooper. No. Yeah, Philly Don! Woo! Joey Merlino, baby. Joey Merlino, skinny Joey Merlino. All right, he's opening up a cheesesteak spot. He is opening up a cheesesteak spot. Skinny Joey Merlino. That's where I'm heading. So if you guys head over there, you might see me. All right. Let's show you guys this cheesesteak spot. It actually looks pretty dope, dude. Look at this thing. Fucking cool, man. Skinny Joey's. It's going to be sweet. Save image. Let me show you guys this. This thing is dope. It better be good, though, because I like good cheesesteaks, man. I hate shitty cheesesteaks. That's a money laundering. Yes, it is. It is. But if they give me a cheesesteak for the dollars I give them, I'm good. All right. Cheesesteaks are not mid. I love cheesesteaks, bro. I love cheesesteaks. My favorite cheesesteak has fluctuated a lot recently because a place I used to be out on has gotten really good. And it's one of those places that's so popular that I don't even like talking about it, but it's good. It's gotten really good, and it's pretty close to me, 20 minutes or so. Wait, my system is running out of memory. What the fuck does that mean? Quit Brave then. Why is Google Chrome using so much damn memory? Give me a sec. Computer's about to crash out on me. Too much Cornhub. Yeah, there's a lot of people in this chat that have that issue, Brian. Your boy Zander is not one of them. Y'all need to chill on that. All right. Chubby's is good. Chubby's is across the street from D'Alessandro's. See, that gets slept on because it's, across the street from D'Alessandro's. Across the street from D'Alessandro's. Aki pizza. That sounds good, man. I can't eat meat today. It's Lent. Friday in Lent. Yo, Catholics, where you at? No meat today. Rich says, where's this giveaway? Rich, you're off the list. I just pulled you off. I'll give away the 5-panel Kango to you instead. Just kidding. Geno's. Oh my God, Wilfredo, you must not live in Philly. All right. Filet of fish. Ugh, sound like Cilio. Cilio ordering clams at Hooters. It's a violation. Dre says, I couldn't live somewhere cold like Philly. I like the warmth too much. Well, I like the warmth too, but when it gets cold, it doesn't bother me. Once I don't like the middle, I don't like the middle, Dre. If it's cold, be cold and have snow on the ground. I like that. If it's hot, be hot. I hate when it's 54 and windy. What the fuck is that? D'Alessandro's is excellent, man. That's the one I was talking about that's gotten so popular. But I think, something you can do that people don't understand in media is it's very easy to buy media. So people can be like, D'Alessandro's is the #1 ranked cheesesteak in Philly on every platform. It's yeah, they probably bought that. I mean, you could buy that. I'm not saying they did, but you could. John's Roast Pork, D'Alessandro's, Jim's, and see, Fleming, this is why I love you. This is why I love Brian Fleming. If I gave you 4 cheesesteak places, these are the 4 I'd give you. Those are the exact 4 I'd give you. Angelo's is next level. D'Alessandro's, I think they've gotten better since they've become so talked about. I think they actually were because now we have so much publicity, let's actually make a banging cheesesteak, because I didn't love them back in the day. Jim's, excellent, especially since they rebuilt Jim's because it caught on fire a couple of years ago, for those who know that. Steve's on Cotman is not as good anymore, Brian. My problem with Steve's on Cotman is I get extra cheese, extra onions, double meat typically. All the cheese is on top. They don't put it in the steak at all. and then they fold it. Then you take the paper off, and all the cheese that you just got is on the paper. Got to scrape it off. It's not in the middle of the steak. When you get halfway through the steak, you're only eating steak. You don't taste cheese. You don't taste onions. Very big cuts of steak. The cuts of steak I don't have an issue with. It's you got to get that cheese in there. That's what D'Alessandro's does really good. Angelo's is amazing. Jim's was my favorite when I was younger, and I went on a cheesesteak tour in Philly. Me and one of my boys did that because we went to school at the prep, obviously, and we're down in Philly. Jim's was my favorite. Jim's was my favorite, man. I loved Jim's steaks. And John's roast pork is iconic for people in Philly. I mean, people who know John's roast pork are typically Philly people. It's not one of those touristy ones. All right, it's not one of those touristy ones. But, all right, let's do this giveaway because I want to run. I got shit to do. I got a headache, too. Hate headaches. Z, what do I have a degree in? Rich, how about nothing? I dropped out of college, bro. I didn't even finish at Alabama. No degree. No degree for your boy. I dropped out because I launched a business when I was in college. And then it started to get traction. And I was like, I'm done with college. Let me go tend to my business. And then I fucked up the business a little bit. I was like 19 at the time. What was I? Junior in college? Yeah, so no degree for your boy, Big Z. All right. I talk football with you all. I don't go down the suit route. But I will say I had a good GPA, if that matters. Until I decided not to. All right, let me pull up this giveaway. New window. Here we go. My head's getting too big and the Kango's too tight. Nah, this Kango's good. This Kango's not too tight. You saw that Phillies hat I wore yesterday? This thing was tight. Might be from that. It's a cool hat. I love the black Phillies hat. I always have. But it doesn't, it's a little tight. And degrees are for doctors and suck. I don't want to go that far. I'm not gonna bash somebody for getting a degree, but yeah, very expensive. My dad was working his balls off. I always get a kick out of people. Oh, you're a Nepo baby. I'm like, don't you have to be rich to be a Nepo baby? Like, my dad I've literally my entire life, the one thing I remember about my whole life is my dad has always had to work his balls off, and he never took anything for himself. Everything he did was always for his kids, whether it was trying to make payment on the travel hockey team I played for, trying to make payment on sending us to private schools because he thought that was what was best for us, whatever it was. Like, that's where I grew up. I mean, come on, bro. Nepo. I'm like, I didn't inherit much. All right. But I get it. People don't like success. People don't like people who, I don't view anything like that. I really don't. I don't take away from people. Let's do this giveaway because you guys are giveaway winner regular. Let's do the regular first, then we'll do legends. Don't you have kids so they inherit the business? Well, Dank, that's the idea, but why is that so bright? Why did it just get so bright? Agreed, Jason 18. All right, let me get this list, and then I'll do the giveaway. I got this headache. It's taking away the pop. I know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not as entertaining for you guys. Yesterday we were on a roll. We were talking about like every sport. All right. There you go, Joe. That's well done too. See, I'm the kind of guy that I don't disparage either side. I don't like people who disparage either side. Joe says, I have 2 degrees, worked my ass off, paid my way all the way through. Joe, well done, man. You got a good head on your shoulders. Obviously, you are one of our great supporters here on JAKIB. Many know you, Joe, from your appearance on our parade show, all the help you gave us on the parade show. Actually, I owe Joe something for that. Joe, what do I owe you for that? What do I owe you for that? I got to get you something for that, I feel like. All that work you gave us. Joe was out there 6:30 in the morning with us, helping us out. All right, here we go. All right, let's do this. Come on, picker. Joe, if you win, I'll do something for you because I owe you anyway. All right, here we go. Z, take off your hat. Your blood flow is causing a headache. I don't think that's it, bro. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. It's the anti-family agenda. That's actually not a bad take. KCA says KCA, you're one of the biggest dudes who always comments I'm a nepo. I always see that. We all just wish we could do what you do. Well, I don't wish I could be anybody other than myself. All right. I hope everybody finds what they want to do in life. I hope everybody makes it to eternal life in heaven. And I don't view it from that lens at all. I'm not a jealous person. I never have been. I don't care. I like when people have things. Like if you are rich, great. I'm happy for you. If you have degrees, great. I'm happy for you. If you do what you want in life, that's great. I'm happy for you. I try not to be a jealous person at all. I think that's a shitty trait. 1 shuffle, 2 shuffles, 3 shuffles. Send Joe a cheesesteak gift card. I don't know if he'd like that. There you go, Brandon. Good comment. 4, 3, 2, 1. Akbar Divine. Where's my boy Akbar? Is he here? Akbar's been listening, but he listens after. And he DMs me on Instagram his takes on the show. I love it. He always sends me, yo, this thing. I love Akbar. He's really a good dude. He's really a good dude. Akbar, look, he DMs me his takes on the show. I love him. I haven't seen him today. I haven't seen him. I might have sent him some videos to watch, so he might be busy. Come on, say Lord. I haven't seen Akbar here, though. Akbar, I'm telling you, he watches after. I think Akbar is working. I think he works nights now. So I'm not sure that. I'd have to ask him. He's my boy, though, man. I love Akbar. We had such a good conversation down at the parade and stuff. Do not be bum juice. He's probably bum juice today in terms of showing up for the giveaway. But I'll do something for Akbar. What the heck happened to my list? All right, there it is. Come on, dumbass thing. Save. All right, start. Akbar is the man. He's a very cool dude. 1 shuffle, 2 shuffles, 3 shuffles. Come on, I don't got all day here. What do we got? 4, 3. Dre, you might have to use your computer. 1. Ernie Berry. How about that name? Ernie Berry. Sounds like a TV show host or something. Ernie Berry. Ernie, are you out there? Dre, it's really a pain in the ass. You got to add, there's been a bunch of other people who tried to upgrade, and there was Ernie Berry. Related to Halle Berry? Brian Pumper III. Get out of here, Pumper. Gifted Gray. I don't know. We don't have many gifteds left. 1920s baseball player. I can see that. Who the F? See, this is the problem. All right. A lot of you guys are always like, who the F? You can't disrespect the people who don't chat. We got a lot of people, man, who listen to me and they hear me and I'm going to become a member. And if they're not here, doesn't mean they're not JAKIB supporters. Come on. Start. Ernie Berry, if you show up, I'll give you something. 1 shovel. We're going 1 for Jalen Hurts. How do you not chat? I don't know, dang. Some people are intimidated by the chat. I had somebody tell me that at the parade. They're like, yo, I watch you every day. I never chat. VJ514. Pause, no Diddy. VJ514. Pause, no Diddy. Let me get a pause and a no Diddy. I'll get a pause and a no Diddy. Oh, man. Next. I don't know. Look at it. You guys see the name? This is Diddy's brother. I'll get a pause and a no Diddy on that. All right, come on. We're going rapid. If you're here and your name gets called, you better get it quick or else you're done. And then we'll pick you a shirt. Dank Bird Gang picked the best shirt. Wait, Dank, what size were you? What size were you getting? XL, right? 2, 1. Anthony Rossi. Muy rápido. About the only thing I learned. The Phillies is the fart you leave in the car heading into work. Holy shit, that's funny. Because when you come back, you say, holy shit. It fucking stinks in here. 162 game stinker. They're 1-0, dickhead. What are you talking about? Should I buy a new Titleist driver? What are you getting? The what are they called? TS3? Is that what it is? Is it the TS3? I need a new driver desperately, man. I upgraded all my clubs except my driver. They do not suck, Pumper, but I don't think they're the right lineup to win a World Series. I'm with you on that. Also, they care too much about lineup. Care more about pitching. You know, you got to get 27 outs every game. I mean, why do we care little about pitching? It bothers me. Like, think about it. Everybody cares so much about the lineup. The lineup is out there for half the game. Half the game, you got to get the other team out. Do we spend more on the lineup than we do on pitchers? I think that should change. 1 of 162. On pace to be 162-0. Pumper, I literally don't know if there's a thing in the world that exists that you do like. Pumper, by the way, I scared you off yesterday with some hockey talk, Pumper, and you won the giveaway. But you weren't here. What's up, David? You're just in time for the giveaway. Cleveland DST, is that cheap? My budget's tight on drivers right now. I dropped 2 G's like a year and a half ago on Mizuno irons. They are incredible. They were worth the money. All right, they were worth the money, but they were pricey. I got the what did I get? The Tours? I forget what I got. No, I didn't get the Tours. I got the I'm kind of with Pumper. Yeah. Yeah. They're blades. Yep, they're blades. They're forged, Rich. I like forged because I'm not golf enough to have forged right now because I just don't golf enough. And when you play forged irons, but I was very good with forged back when I was a member at a club. And I always said, if I'm going to get better, I want to get better on forged. Like, I don't want too much help, but I don't know. Some people have different take. I don't know. I love my clubs though. My irons are excellent. Yeah, giving. You guys need. Yeah, that's what it is. TSI. What is it? The TSI 3? Is that what it is, Slagger? I know they have like a 4 and a 5 or whatever. Drivers are nice. Titleist stuff is really nice. Start. One shovel. Come on. Forged are very unforgiving. Yes. Mizuno is nice though, man. Mizuno hits like butter. 3, 2, 1. Kerry Hayes. Kerry, are you out there? Is that one of our female listeners? Kerry, are you out there? Miguel says, yo, that dude John is negative Nancy, bro. That's funny as hell. He's really not. He's just not optimistic, He doesn't look at anything through a lens of optimism or negativism, really. He just kind of looks at it as like, it is what it is, I'll be more positive when Sydney Sweeney returns my DMs. That's a never, sir. Why? Because you're 5'3"? Nah, you can't. Often replicated, never duplicated. Can't be Brian Pumper. There's only one. Is Kerry Hayes here? Kerry! Come on, Kerry. All right, they're out of here. Start! One shuffle for the Jalen Hurts shuffle. Next. Come on. Look at a girl name. Mark Anthony, you're not even a member. Daniel Ruggiero. Am I pronouncing that right? Probably not. Miguel, not a member. Mark Anthony, not a member. You're out. Is Daniel Ruggiero here? Big Dan. Earn it with a wink face, bro. I don't even know what that means. That's some Diddy talk, though. That's some Diddy talk. Nope. Next. Any new members today? No, Rico. Rico, you won yesterday. You weren't here. Sorry, Rico. No, I don't, Rich. I was thinking of starting, though, collecting NFL cards because it'd be cool. 3, 2, 1. Steph, are you out there? All right, it feels like a day where we're gonna have like 35 picks. It's 10:38. I'm already exhausted. Come on. I'm about to pick somebody in the chat. Collect Pokemon, Z. I'm not a Pokemon guy. I'm not a Pokemon guy, Race. Steph aside, next. Pick me. I watch every day, bro. Miguel, that's good, man. That's good for me. Just pick me. Look at Mesmerize with the girl in his picture. Yo, Mesmerize is a little bit of a womanizer. I like it. His Instagram's hilarious. Best headache cure wins. Good one. My boy, womanizer. Mesmerize should be the womanizer. 3, 2, Casey. KCA Eagle. You got to be here, KCA. This guy's been looking for a win for months. In fact, he canceled his membership when I didn't do giveaways. And then I redid giveaways and he immediately becomes a member. KCA with the win. KCA with the win. That is hilarious. He's right there. Cha-ching is right. Perfect words, Slagger. KCA, what do you want, bro? This guy works in Fanatics. He probably gets all these shirts for free. He's getting another one, though. KCA, what size, bro? What size? We still got a legend winner. We'll do a legend giveaway next. What size? And then we'll look through the T-shirts. XL. All right, let's look. Now, he's not only here for the giveaways. He watches the shows. He's only a member for the giveaways, that's for sure. That's all right, though. Eagles order. Nope. Here we go. All right. KCA, congrats. Let's pick a shirt, all right? No, you're not getting a hat. No, that's not it, is it? Yeah, it is it. All right, here we go. Let's make this bigger, actually. All right, KCA, pick one. I'll tell you which ones are XL. All right, the signature shirt, XL. I got one more of them. I have Super Bowl champs. This is the one they wore on the field. XL. I got 3 of them. I can give you one of those. I have got the W shirt XL. I got 2 of them. I have XL Super Bowl champions Heather Charcoal shirt. I have, nope, none of that. Those are the 3 or 4 I have. Which one you want? He says I had that one. Well, that ain't my issue. You just got to pick a shirt and let me know which one you like. I'll send it to you. Got the W? On field? Signature? Or Heather Gray? Izzy fell off. Where is Izzy? I wonder where Izzy's been, if she's still watching. She might be. You guys bullied her out of the chat. She DM'd me that. You guys bullied her out of the chat. She said, I don't like these people in the chat. I'll be listening, but I won't be commenting. Izzy B, if you're listening, we still love you here on JAKIB. All right. Signature, I got you. Any hats left? I do have a hat. You want to do a hat? No, hats are for the legends. Sorry. I'm keeping the hats. Because I only have 5 of them. All right? Can't bully me out. I didn't give Izzy B that much shit, Bob Brown. What a ridiculous comment. What a ridiculous comment. I think, Bob, you were just mad. Bob, you and all the other stooges in the chat were mad because I know how men get, all right, around chicks. Believe me. All right. Casey, I got you, man. Let me find it. Let's get some of these shirts are dope. No, not that size. Try to keep any of these shirts for your boy Z. Now, I'll give them away. I don't need them. Boom. There it is. XL. Signature shirt. There it is. And an XL. Boom. This is a dope shirt, man. You and email me, KCA. You and what is going on in my damn email? Thing's driving me crazy. All right, KCA, email me, brother. And Bird Gang Girl says that small is going to be mine. Bird Gang Girl, that small might be yours by default because I don't know if anybody else is claiming a small. In fact, Bird Gang Girl, I bought the small with you in mind. All right, because I'm like, I know I have some women that are members. I want to make sure I got sizes for everybody. I think I have mediums too. Didn't you say you like mediums better? I got whatever you like. All right, here we go. Let's do legends now. Let me pull up the legend list here. Organize. Sort. Boom. Current level. All right, here we go on legends. Thank you all if you're a legend member. I appreciate you very, very, very much. Let's see who our longest standing legend member is. Brian Fleming, 4.3 months. Nope. Derek Elmore, 5 months. Jason A-Team, 5.98 months. 6 months almost on legend. Terry Hayes, 5.8 months. Jason A-Team right now is the leader on the legend department. Jason A-Team, our longest standing legend member. Well done, A-Team. 5.98 months as a legend. Derek Elmore is over 5. Terry Hayes is over 5. And an honorable mention is Brian Fleming at 4.3. Everybody else is 1, 2, or 3 months as a legend. All right. So thank you all very, very much. Philly Don at 3.9. Philly Don, that's pretty good. You're checking in, getting close. All right. All right, let's do the legend giveaway. Get rid of that. Let's do 48 legends. Where am I at? You're 3.98. Keep them dusties behind. A-Team, I'm going to do something for you, bro. I'm going to do something for you. How many for you? Bob Brown, you might be more than 3 months, but it might be like, let me get, I'll look for you, Bob. Bob Brown is 3.16 months, Bob. So you're over 3. Dank Bird Gang, are you a Legend member? I don't think you're a Legend member, right? Or are you? No, you're not a Legend member. I don't know how long you've been a member. Was saving this for the 1,000th show, but I want to flex my 3 months. Nice. Nice. Thank you, bro. Nugget with some ... Nugget, I don't know what the fuck that means. What am I? Or what am I reading? Braille? Nugget? You should do something. Sil says you should do something for those who put up with Sills for 4 hours a day. Sills is the greatest, Sue, and don't even try and tell me otherwise. Sills is a legend. I love Sills. All right, let's do this, Legend. Present, share screen. We need Sills. You guys don't think you like Sills. You need Sills. All right? You need Sills. Somebody's got to be pushing the Eagles to greatness. All right, 48 Legends. I want to thank each and every one of you guys. I love you all. You guys are big supporters of the channel. All right? So, Nugget says, you couldn't see me at 4, so maybe you needed it in Braille. Yo, bitch, you got an attitude, Nugget. Let me pull up the real raw data over your dumbass opinion. All right? Fucking Nugget. Let me find Nugget. Nugget has been a Legend for 1.9 months. You've been a member for 4. You've been a Legend for 1.9. Nugget, get the fuck out of here. Nugget. Fucking Nugget. Nugget, I know you from Twitter. I think you DM me. KCA, I got your email, bro. I got your email. Congrats on the W. Let me write you down on my master list real quick before I fuck it up. KCA Eagle, winner. Signature T. Dank Bird Gang was signature T and XL. KCA was XL as well. All right. Nugget just got verbally shit on. Nugget, don't take it personal. You know how it goes here. All right. You might. All right. Don't take it personal. I don't think you will. I think you know me by now. Kyle, I've been saying this for 20 years, dog. You're not telling me anything I don't know. All right, here we go. Legend. You do not have to be present for the Legends. All right. I'm an American. Of course, my shirt size is at least an XL. Yeah, you and me both. I'm not fat. I'm just an XL. Confirm. One shuffle. Start. Good, Nugget. You're here for the shit talk. We got to have some shit talk in life. 3, 2, 1. Jay Parker. Jay Parker. All right, let me write down Jay Parker. Legend winner. And Chad was our other Legend winner. All right, perfect. JD3 says, next. Should I do another Legend for good measure? No, I want to keep the stuff because I spent $1,000 on this stuff and my budget's tight. All right. So I got to keep it real. I got to keep it realistic on giveaways. I can't do as many as the season. I will say when the season rolls around, you know, I'm going to be giving shit away like crazy. All right. Kyle, me too. It's the only Eagles jersey I own. I don't own jerseys. I'm not a jersey guy. Is Jalen Hurts number 2. All right. The only Eagles jersey I own is Jalen Hurts number 2. Not number 1, number 2. This is some baby back bogus. Now, here come all the tears. I'd like to win once. Oh, my God. Xander didn't pick me. He didn't pick me. Wait for the 1K show. Yeah, I'll do a bunch of giveaways on the 1K show. All right. We'll do 2 or 3 there. Zay, are you going to give out the 2025 Eagles draft caps? Yes, that's a good idea. I will order those once they come. Did they come out yet, Rich? Rich, did they come out yet? Did they come out yet? Because I'll order those. I love those. Well, I didn't see the design this year, but I typically like them. Let me look. Sue, sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you, Sue. Sue, is it too early to get picked on? Cilio picks on you all day, and you don't give him shit, all right? And then you get mad at me. I pick on you for 2 seconds. Oh, I see him. Yo, these are fucking sweet. Holy moly. Yo, look at these. Oh, these are fire. Rich, thank you for notifying me. These are crazy. 50 beans. Yo, that is clean. Oh! Oh, and it's fitted too. With the pin on there. Yo. That is fire. I still can't believe Sue got mad at me for chirping her. I got to give her shit on Cilio today. All right, that's fire. We'll do some of these. Jeez, $50. What's the difference? Why is this one? Is this one not fitted? Okay, this is it in snapback. Oh, with no pin. See, this is what they do. There's no pin, of course, on the one that's $41. There is a pin on the one that's $50. You know, wait, if you know anything about me, we don't buy the non-pin ones. All right. No, Devin, but I'm going to come up with something. Last year, Saquon 125 for giveaway. Do you have a new format? No, we're going to come up with something. We're going to come up with something. Yeah, it looks like, again, me too, Dank. I mean, how many Eagles hats can I buy? Whoa, they got it in white. Oh, geez. Now I'm 100 deep. Oh, dude, the white is sick. I'm on Fanatics. This is the Eagles Pro Shop. Oh, man. Which one's better, the white or the black? I think the black's probably a little better, but this is clean. Dude, that's actually not a bad call, Brandon. Every sack Nolan Smith gets, if he gets 12, it's 12 jerseys. Thanks, Z. There goes another 50 to the Pro Shop. Yo, Devin, I'm tapped out on Eagles Pro Shop after the Super Bowl. I bought so much Eagle shit. Wait, I bought a couple books I want to show you guys. All right, so not to get you guys in like where you got to buy a bunch of shit, but I'll show you guys the books I got. I like books when stuff happens, like a Super Bowl win. All right. I'll show you the collection of books I got. This is the Inquirer one, Philadelphia Inquirer. What a run. Inside the Philadelphia Eagles' unforgettable 2024 championship season. It's really good. Really dope. All right, that's one. Maybe I'll give these away. I got this one. This is Lindy Sports. Lindy Sports Collector's Edition, World Champions with Jalen on the cover. Pretty cool. Goes by like each week. Week 16. Really dope. All right, got that one. So I have the Inquirer, Lindy Sports. I did get the ESPN one. A Season for the Ages. Eagles. This is dope. Cooper DeJean on the back. This is a pretty dope book. Eagles, ESPN. I got the program thanks to Slagger. Slagger, thank you for sending this to me, brother. Appreciate that very much. Those are all like magazine style. And then this is an actual table book. All right. This is an actual table book, Flying High, How the Eagles Soared to the Championship. And it's really dope, man. This big ass table book. Got all the pictures from the year. Goes by each week again. Really dope. Really dope. Barkley's runs purer than the driven snow. Carter's late sack of Stafford saves the day. Pretty sick. So I got this. This was a pre-order. It came like this week or last week. Flying High. How the Eagles Soared to a Championship. So those are the books I got from the Super Bowl. I got, 5 of them? Yeah, I got 4 of the magazine styles and then this book. I wanted to show you guys them. I figured you would like them. It's like a table book. Yeah, good table book. What a Run sounds like a Saquon Barkley book. Yeah, which one was that? The ESPN one? Or the Inquirer one? Yeah, that's the Inquirer one. No, it's a Super Bowl book. They're all cool, though. All pretty sick. I mean, if you're like me, I love stuff like that. Always have, always will. You know, I love stuff like that, so I buy it. But if you don't like it, you don't got to get it. But I thought I'd show all you guys that. So, all right, congrats to our 2 winners today, KCA Eagle and Jake Parker. KCA Eagle's membership will be canceled by tomorrow now that he has won. KCA is like, all right, here's my $5. Now give me my shirt. I'm out of here. All right. So good stuff. Appreciate all you guys checking in. See you next time, everybody. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll let you know how Joey Merlino's cheesesteak spot is on Monday. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.